22 seconds, and the third, Prince of Arran and Escalator. His two winners, both in the colours that Dubious Affair will hopefully carry with distinction in our upcoming Al Khail Trophy. Where are you going to go with this, Mikey?
Despite my pre-Chardonnay chagrin, I'm going to stick with Kamari in here, but I am going to cheer for Dubious Affair to run well. I think 14-1 is way too high.
Yeah, Laura?
I was with Kamari, but I think I'm more towards Dubai Future now.
So that's Dubai Future. Kamari, well fancied for Godolphin, a race that you'd expect them to take quite a bit of beating in. Not too many left to go forward, so let's join Alistair.
Volcanic Sky was just a step slow. Aleniac needs a bit of riding in the early stages. Mondane broke out well for lightweight. This is the early leader. Island Brave is second early on. Kamari in the red cap right there. Suspicious Mind. And then comes Toscani towards the inside. 2 lengths adrift as Mondane comes past us first time round in front by just over 1 length. Master Blue midfield. Volcanic Sky recovers. Then comes Dubious Affair. Dubai Future 3/4 of the way back. Being joined by Bin Battuta in the orange cap covering some ground at the outside. Then comes Global Heat, and Aleniac is happy to race at the end of the field. They out of the straight. Head towards the 2200 metres area. Mondane retained the lead, got it by 1 length. Suspicious Mind worked into second. Then comes Island Brave, who stuck out deep. The pace doesn't look to be all that great. Then comes Toscani in the white cap against the rail, racing only 2.5 lengths off the leader. Kamari's in the red cap and travelling 1 off the rail. Volcanic Sky made another place, the black cap, and only about 5 lengths off the leader. Master Bloom 1 off the fence. Bin Batuta's out deeper. Then comes Dubious Affair, further 3 parts behind that. Now Dubai Future is in the all blue colours towards the rear of the field. Global Heat and Aleniac are the last two, 1600 metres out, and Mondane yet to see another rival. He's doing it his way. He's got the lead by 1 length of Suspicious Mind in the green and white colours, racing away in second. Toscani is well placed on the leader's back, 1.5 lengths behind the leader in third. Island Brave continues to cover some ground but has some options. Kamari 1 off the rail, blue jacket and the red cap, only about 2.5 lengths from the leader. Volcanic Sky. Bin Batuta's also stuck out deep and has to gain some ground. Master Bloom next best. Dubai Future still behind midfield, but only about 7 lengths off the leader. They haven't broken any records here. Volcanic Sky, Dubious Affair are the next two. Aleniac happy to watch on, and Global Heat at the end of the field. No more than 10 lengths between them. At the corner of the track, it's Mondane taken on by Suspicious Mind now. Then comes Toscani, who races away in third. Kamari fourth. Island Brave at their outside. Bin Batuta's even deeper out. Then comes Master Bloom, followed by Volcanic Sky. Dubai Future, the all blue colours, will turn into the home straight about 6 or 7 lengths off the leader. Then comes Dubious Affair. Aleniac continues to be deep and towards the back of the field, with Global Heat needs to get past the entire lot. They're in line for home now, 500 metres out. Suspicious Mind was quick to pick up, but Kamari hit the front before they turn for home. Then comes Volcanic Sky. Toscani towards the inside, gives some sight. Then comes Dubai Future, still 3 lengths off the leader, but Toscani goes for home and burst away in a big way. Volcanic Sky, Kamari, Dubai Future and Aleniac all queuing up for minor money here. One-way traffic. Toscani 4 lengths in front and is going to win this with authority. Toscani much too good. Second goes to Aleniac. Then third, Volcanic Sky, Dubai Future, Kamari. Then came Dubious Affair. Global Heat next best. Master Bloom, Suspicious Mind, Mondane, Island Brave and Bin Battuta.
Well, Siskany did what Dubai Future did last time, perhaps even more impressively so, as this was a dominant performance by the perceived Charlie Appleby, second string in this Al Khail Trophy, beating Aleniac, who's run very well for Jamie Osborne, back in second. It looks like the black cap of Godolphin will finish third in Volcanic Sky, but as soon as Kamari looked as though he might steal a march to the top of the straight, Siskany emerged on the scene, and this was very impressive, Mikey.
Yeah, very, very much so. Came in here, perhaps just a fitter horse on the day as well. Probably has a few lengths on him there, but I was just impressed with just the distance he was able to put between him in the final furlong, and this horse really stays nicely.
Yeah, thriving, or really appreciating at the very least the step up in trip, it would seem, Laura. And I think Charlie Fellows noted this one as the main danger, or one that he was very fearful of last night.
Yeah, of course he had Dubious Affair in here, and he was concerned that Siskany might bounce back to his best, and he was very good over 1.5 miles at Newmarket back in October. He was he had quite a sort of well spaced out campaign last year, I'd say. He had a bit of a break between July and October when he was so impressive in that race in Newmarket, and then he was kind of upped in grade, was well beaten in a Group 3. Well, only beaten 5 lengths of Group 3, and then ran okay on the all-weather as a sort of prep for this, but very likely race. This is his 5th win from 10 starts, and exciting now, isn't it? What do they do? Do they turn him into a Cups horse, or do they look for potentially bigger pots back at 1.5 miles?
Well, if it sounds as though they're going to go 1.5 miles with Manobo, there's no reason to not keep this horse for the Nadal Sheba Trophy, which is 3 or 4 weeks away, and that could be a stepping stone towards the Dubai Gold Cup, obviously. He was just very dominant.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, to me, maybe it was fitness, but to me, it seems like he stepped up his game, at least rating-wise, moving up in trip. And, it's only 2 more furlongs to the 2 miles that he would take to the on Gold Cup day. And like you said, the Nadal Sheba Trophy is over this distance. Yeah,
he fairly sprinted away from them in the end. So, 2nd winner of the season for James Doyle. He was successful on Ben Doog for Bupat Seema on the dirt last week. So I think it's his first for Charlie Appleby. And slightly unusual that Charlie had race 1 in December and then brought him over. It's usually he backs off them a lot earlier.
It's a Saeed bin Saror type prep, isn't it? He likes a little all-weather spin for a lot of his, has used that method with considerable success over the years. So obviously he felt that Siskani needed a spin around on the all-weather. And he ran pretty well on this occasion. Maybe because he's come into this relatively fresh, they could just go straight to the Gold Cup. When it's off 111, it's not like he's not going to get invited. It's only Group 2, so I'll try and find out what the plan is for this horse. Really thrilled for Jamie Osborne with Alignac. That's brilliant. He's managed to finish 2nd and split up the Godolphin Blues, who finished 3rd, 4th and 5th. There might be a race we won with him.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. Jamie's got a really good record here as well, hasn't he? He had 3 or 4 wins over the years. In fact, 4 winners over the years from just 43 runners, which is pretty good. And
that was his 8th place runner, just simply bumping into one. Only receiving half a kilo as well, despite rated 9 pounds inferior. So the rated conditions certainly didn't favour Jamie Osborne and his Alignac here, but he's started his campaign very well with a 5th placing and stepping up on that to finish 2nd here. Dubai Future, Mikey, just seemed a bit... Well, he was caught further back to start with, but, when they win as impressively as they did first time, I suppose there's always got to be some sort of retraction for the next run, really.
In the States, we call it a bounce factor.
Yeah, exactly.
He bounced like a rubber ball there. That's fine. I feel like makes him this is probably just a bridge to maybe coming back in the Nadal Sheba Trophy, where he can get a little bit more of a break.
Yeah, were you a bit disappointed with Kamari? He looked as though he was going to have every chance at one stage.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see the final time here, whether or not this ground was quite hard, because I wouldn't be surprised if he prefers a little bit more of a cut to the surface, considering how well he ran at Longchamp the first time. And
despite the fact he got to the front, perhaps just couldn't quicken on this the quicker ground, maybe.
All in all, it's hard to say that that he's taking money home. It's not too terrible of a performance, but at the same time, you expect him to be in the top 2 at the least in this race.
Yeah, he was the warm favourite after all. Taking it from the start, Mondain seemed to ensure at least a solid enough gallop with Suspicious Mind on his outside. Suspicious Mind ran well first time out a couple of years ago and not so well second time. That's been the case again here. Siskany's tracking him perfectly positioned in the white cap, Kamari in the red cap, Island Brave also in that second wave. He would eventually fade away. And sort of Dubai Future, his 3rd or 4th last, when he won on his reappearance, he was where Siskany is now, and I'm not saying that's the sole reason he's not been as potent tonight, but certainly different track position. And Dubious Affairs, the other one we should mention, she's eventually plugged on to finish 6th, and Charlie Fellow seemed to imply there'd be a little bit of improvement for her first run since June after all.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, he said that she'd probably come forward, obviously, and this isn't the end-all be-all as winning this listed race in the beginning of the carnival. I think she will be one to watch here. She made a nice little... she split split horses at the top of the lane, had a little bit of traffic there, got bumped a bit.
It did seem to get a bit messy, actually, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. But there was... It looked like Antonio saw a seam that he either had to sit on his hands and wait and go around, or take advantage of it and see if she could plug on. Yeah. And she came through. At that point, I think she just didn't have the same kind of kick.
Let's just try and identify the chief sufferers in what was a bit of scrimmaging turning for home. Dubious Affair is on the rail. Global Heat in the green cap is the one right out the back.
Rewatching this, to me, it's running like a race that they went far, just a touch too hard early.
Yeah.
I hate, bless his heart, but it's cheap speed up front that spits the bit right now. And you'll see a lot of horses coming from the far back who are going to finish up close in the long run.
It's just here where Dubai Future and Dubious Affair seem to go for the same gap. Maybe we've missed it. Maybe I was making more of a meal of it than it actually was. But Siskany's showing a pretty sharp turn of foot to go clear there.
That was a very sly ride up the inside there. He lets him stride out here. Lets him, he's drifting out a bit, but he's not bothering anyone. He's catching his best stride out there. But what's very smart is he probably realized the horse is going to veer out a bit. He cut the corner as sharply as he could.
These might well be staying races, but they don't run as the attritional staying races that you see in England, do they?
Not at all. And the ground isn't usually as deep and trying as you would see back there either.
No.
What you're seeing is a lot of 12 furlong horses who are able to stretch it out a bit. And the real stayers, I would say, like Alan Yak is probably a proper stayer. He came plugging along, and I can't criticize. They went a bit too fast, too early, but he wasn't complaining.
No.
I think he's one of the types that was very, very pleased with that.
But even then, he could still only really mosey on at the one pace and could never really threaten to land too much of a blow on this impressive Siskany, who, as we said, was rated 111 going into this. He'll be set for a hike into the sort of 115, 116 area, you'd well imagine. And whether the Nadal Sheba Trophy or indeed straight to the Dubai Cup will be the natural aim for this one remains to be seen. Volcanic Sky, not mention him too much. We sort of felt he'd run that sort of race, but might just be a touch vulnerable to anything with a bit of star quality, which Siskany had.
It's just better horses than he was facing last year, and at the same time he's a year older. He's 7 now, and coming off the layoff might not be as effective as he once was. But it wasn't a bad run by any means. I just feel like this race kind of functioned as a perfect ride, first of all, for the winner. And he just had a better turn of foot than any other horse could answer with.
Yeah, he did. Dubai Future has stayed on a little bit, but And
here comes Dubious Affair up the inside there.
Yeah. They've both kind of had the same run through Dubious Affair and Dubai Future, i.e. just a bit too far back, really, and unable to quicken in the same manner as this Siskany, who's come well clear for James Doyle and Charlie Appleby, the former, speaking to Laura now.
Yeah, I'm joined by James Doyle following the very impressive victory of Siskany. That was a good field. He's bolted up. Well done.
Yes, thanks. No, pretty pleased with him. Kind of surprised, really, how well he stayed tonight. It was a bit of a question mark coming into it, but, Charlie said don't, ride him nice and handy, kind of no excuses. We know at this distance they never really go an end-to-end gallop, so we knew as long as we got a good pitch, close pitch from that easy draw down the inside, nice and close, and if the gaps kind of came, which was only a little bit of a tricky moment on the home turn, the leader kind of stopped and just trying to shimmy past it, but once we got past, he really excelled in the straight, and he kind of showed us. Look, he won very nicely in a handicap at Newmarket, and he looked like a potential group horse, and we did run him at Newbury in a Group 3, and I don't know whether it was the ground that day or what, he just seemed to over-travel a bit and then just got stuck in the ground, and it really wasn't his best, and then he backed up in a listed race at Kempton before he came out here, and still the same, just a little bit disappointing, so maybe this is the key, going over a bit further maybe.
Could be a cup source. Just quickly, looking forward to your rise later on. Worko, One Royal, both have a squeak?
Yeah, Worko, kind of a bit of a work in progress. He was a bit of a mess the first night, pulled too hard. He'll need to settle a lot better tonight. He's got a hood on, which should hopefully help him. And One Rule looks very tough race, obviously with Saeed's horse in there, but just looking to build on what he did the first night. Look, it was a bit of a messy race, and I thought he did well to close off the way he did in a race that paid to be handy, but I think for his first run back it was perfect. So if he can build on that, hopefully he should be thereabouts for the place money.
Oh, really well done. Good luck later on.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.
Well done to James Doyle. Perfectly timed rides on the best horse in the race there, Siskany, landing the Al Kale Trophy, the presentation for which is now taking place. Godolphin's managing director, Hugh Anderson, doing the honours, collecting this prize. The race sponsored by Dubai Hills Estate. And Hugh Anderson was here last week as well to witness Godolphin win 5 races. Sophie Question will also collect the prize on behalf of Charlie, who is sadly absent today, has been here the first 2 weeks, and very busy for him back at Moulton Paddocks with the 2-year-olds just beginning to get going. Nice clip of them in action on the gallops earlier in the weeks at Moulton Paddocks, and James Doyle collecting his prize as well. The $60,000 first prize going the way of Godolphin and Siskany. Well, as predictable as Godolphin winning that race was, it seems very predictable where our next race is going to go. Godolphin surprisingly not represented in our UAE 1000 Guineas. I think the first time since, or only 2 or 3 times since 2007, they've not had a runner.
Yeah, it's a shame they didn't have anything ready to go, but at the same time, they wouldn't have been the favourite anyway.
No, because Shahama would have been the favourite. Every chance that she has scared much of the opposition away.
Shahama is catching the eye here in a big way. Minwara's second, got no answer. She's 4 lanes adrift, make that 5 lanes adrift. Nobody's Joke was next, and they followed by Shinya. But Shahama has made a banging debut.
It is not uncommon for a filly to dominate the 3-year-old division, and Shahama is already well on her way to doing so, following an unbeaten start to her career. The 2 wins have been gained in contrasting conditions. Her debut win effortless on a normal track, although Adre de Vries was still a bit surprised at the nature of victory, despite Fauzi Nass having paid $425,000 for her.
She won in a way that surprised us all. I mean, she did it so professional. Fauzi wanted to give her another run before the Guineas because she didn't maybe learn that much from her first run, being wide and didn't get any kickback.
So from that normal track and impressive debut came more of a test on a very wet surface in the UAE 1000 Guineas trial. The weight of expectation would now weigh heavily, but she wouldn't disappoint, despite not having everything go her way. Something that will no doubt hold her in good stead going forward.
But now Shahama goes for home. She ran into a bit of traffic at the top of the straight. Shahama, bred to be good, looks to be good. Shahama is good. She won by 3.
She did it in a good way. I got stopped a few times, but she's a filly with a big stride, and you like to keep her in a rhythm. And she started a little bit slow because she jumped up in the air, and then she took a little while to get going, but she took the kickback, which wasn't so bad on the day because of the rain. The ground was pretty sloppy. She did handle that as well. Once the gap appeared, she took it like a very professional filly, and she quickened up nice. Maybe not as impressive as the first time, but like I say, she only does what you ask her to do, and I never gave her a slap or anything. She did it just, pushing her, and yeah, we was happy with that.
Amazingly, only 2 fillies trained locally outside of Godolphin have ever won the UAE 1000 Guineas. But it is doubtful few, if any, have the potential of Shahama. With many of the same opposition lying in wait, can this be a case of 3 and easy for the daughter of Munnings?
Well, she's the banker of the evening. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Shahama can do here. But, it's not necessarily going to be easy. The track may just favour speed. She did break a little bit slowly last time. So there's perhaps a couple of things against her, but no doubt that she is the best filly in here. Let's give you the conditions for our listed UAE 1000 Guineas. We're on the dirt, of course, for this. No Godolphin representation, which is very rare that Saeed Ben Saror in particular doesn't find something to put in this race. I think it's the first time since 2007 that he hasn't had a runner. Number 1 is Freya Bella Alice Haynes. Being enterprising, putting this filly in here. We know she doesn't go on the dirt, but she will pick up a nice check even if she finishes 6th. Hot Pink, I thought, ran a really good race last time in a conditions event on the turf. She's not really bred for the dirt, but why not have a go? Ahmed bin Hamash said that last time out was a prep for this race. Little Aphrodite also goes for Ahmed. She would have an outside chance. Minwar goes for Doug Watson. Shahama, the favourite for Fauzi Nass and Adria de Vries. Ushai Stravas, one of the outsiders, but really shouldn't be. Trainer Khalil de Burke thinks an awful lot of this filly.
Without wishing to tempt fate, it does feel as though something's going to have to go drastically wrong in the race for Shahama not to make it 3 from 3 in our upcoming UAE 1000 Guineas. The horses for which beginning to make their way into the parade ring. The last two local winners of this, incidentally, are Folk for Ismail Mohammed and Polar River for Doug Watson, the only two in locally trained winners of the 1,000 guineas outside of Godolphin. So that record should be extended tonight. Either Fauzi Nas, Ahmed bin Hamash and Doug Watson, the pair saddling the only real viable rivals, I would say, although connections behind Jay Travis would have something to say about that. But it just feels as though it's a race that you've obviously got the proven class of Shahama, a couple that have finished behind her, and then just three horses who don't feel as though, they don't seem as though they're going to stay beyond 6 furlongs. And Freya Bella is very much in that category, allied with the fact she's not good enough, but she's been well beaten in both her starts so far, and crucially she just didn't seem to enjoy the dirts whatsoever on the first of those behind Betlaw.
Yeah, I mean, she's a hustle horse in here. Happens to be a 3-year-old filly, and this is a 3-year-old filly race. Yeah, and that's pretty much all there is for her.
It'd be like finding $3,000 in the street just to finish sixth, really. I suppose fifth will be...
It's literally a paid workout.
Yeah. Fourth will be exceeding expectations. Fifth or sixth will be what they are kind of hoping for. And Hot Pink is kind of in that bracket for me as well, although she wasn't disgraced behind Silent Speech on the turf last week. It's just the switch to the dirt angle, and again, beyond 6 furlongs, she's not a guaranteed stayer on pedigree, is she?
Not at all. I mean, she does have Hurricane Run on the bottom, which gives me a lot of stamina. But at the same time, it's a bungle in the jungle. I've never seen one pick up a leg on the dirt. But, you know, she is one of the quicker ones. She has drawn the rail. I'm pretty sure Antonio is just going to send her and see how long she lasts on the fastest path around, which is lane 1.
Andre De Vries will be quite happy at that, I'd imagine, just to get a nice lead into the race on Shahama. This is number 3, Little Aphrodite, who did win on debut at Jebel Ali, so perhaps we're dismissing her too readily. Albeit well beaten by Hind Shahama last time, 6 3/4 lengths to be precise. I suppose if we're looking for reasons as to why she can reverse form, that was only her second start. The track was obviously unusual that night, and it was sloppy, and she'd obviously shown lots of ability in being able to win on debut.
She has some ability. She's not bred to go much further past a mile, so she can get up to a mile. Gold Case on the bottom. It's a nice, strong, sprinting Mr. Prospector line from Florida. Doesn't really scream stamina by any means. Shackelford doesn't either, to be fair. He did win at 9.5 furlongs, but I mean, she's shown some ability, and that should probably take her to the top 3 here. I just don't know if she can get within 5 or 6 lengths of the winner.
No, well, she struggled to last time. Minwar hasn't finished within 9 lengths of Shahama in 2 starts now. She was also a runner-up to Little Aphrodite on her debut. Essentially, she doesn't look to be progressing, but kind of what she's achieved behind Shahama the last twice fits her in, and probably 3rd best in this.
Yeah, she's, I think, with this yard in particular, they had options of running other fillies. And Doug Watson did, and she is a Cupid, and Cupid was one of those tapists that loved 10 furlongs. So I feel like the stretch out's going to help her the more they go along, and I wouldn't be surprised if she comes back and runs in the Oaks after this.
I was going to say, she looks to have a bit of size compared to some of these, at least. Well, all bar Shahama, doesn't she? So that's something in her favour. This is the red hot favourite then, Shahama, who's just a very likeable filly to look at, as you'd imagine, having cost $425,000. She's related to a Grade 1 winner. It's not just what she's achieved on the track so far, on paper as well. She's bred to be very good, and really should take all before her tonight.
She keeps her head low, like her brother did. Looking at Lucky, he wasn't just a Grade 1 winner, he was a dual champion. He was champion 2-year-old, champion 3-year-old. He was the best of his generation, and he was very, very, very classy, especially as the distance is stretched out. She's a Munnings. Munnings doesn't scream stamina, but to me it screams that she's going to be very effective from 7 to 9 furlongs. Beyond that, I'm not sure. But today she could walk backwards on one leg and win this race.
This is Uche Travis, who's been campaigned with this race in mind by Khalil de Burka. She was a winner at Bro Park, but that was way back in June. She only cost €3,200 as a yearling. She's not really bred to stay beyond 6 furlongs. She's by Kotai Glory, but she was impressive in winning that race by 6 lengths. She's got a bit of strength about her up front, but she's getting a little bit on her toes in the parade ring, isn't she?
Yeah, I'm not going to try to pronounce the name. It looks like
I'm getting better at it.
It looks like something when I fall asleep at my keyboard and I wake up and whatever I've written.
It's a good score at Scrabble.
But you know, bless her heart. I hope she runs well here. She looks very speedy, a little bit keen in the parade ring here, on her toes. She's definitely going to go out there running, and hopefully Ty can hang on.
She certainly looks as though she's going to be keen to get on with things, and could be one that goes forward. The absence since June is just another note of caution for me as well. Six furlongs was the trip for her victory, but she's very, very keen to get on with things. She'll be sporting the hood in the race as well, so they obviously think she's a little bit buzzy. Whatever she achieves, really, she only cost, as I said, that initial €3,200, so looking money well spent as things stand as they make their way down the sextet. I suppose one of the issues when you're on a red-hot favourite as Adre de Vries is not to overcomplicate things and sort of get stuck behind one of those without a chance. Stall 6 gives him every opportunity of just sitting wherever he wants, doesn't it?
Yeah, he couldn't have written it any better, to be honest.
Yeah.
The outside allows her to. I mean, he said in the interview that she kind of has a bit of a trouble. She had trouble with the start last time. She's a longer striding filly, needs to find her feet a bit. I'd love to see her pop out of the gate, because especially moving forward, if down the line she's thought of as possibly maybe a Kentucky Oaks candidate, but she's going to have to break and see here today. I mean, it's hard to bring up much else to say about her. She's just been, to me, I was actually much more impressed with her second run than her first.
Because she had to do things differently.
Yeah. And talking to Audrey afterwards, she basically had to stop and start for about 3 furlongs from the backstretch to the side, to the middle of the turn, where horses were shifting around her. Immature horses were going left and right, stopping and starting, and she was able to just see daylight and go. And that's what you want to see. And she handled the wet surface, which wasn't that surprising, because Munnings loved a wet surface. He was second in the second to Rachel Alexander, I believe, in the Haskell Invitational over a muddy sealed surface. And he himself has begat a bunch of nice wet surface horses. But that's besides the point. Proper stallion right now. He's doing really well, and he's starting to get some of the better mayors because he's kind of earned it. He came in as a blue-collar stallion that was basically there to pick up the bottom of the barrel for a lot of the Coolmore on the Coolmore market, but now he's earned himself to a top tier stallion for Coolmore.
We're back to emerge from the tunnel. Were you getting any concerns about the antics of Uche Travis, or she just nicely on her toes?
I mean,
on the way down to the start,
the connection should be a little bit concerned. I mean, she's only raced once. Yeah. She's being asked to go a full quarter mile farther than she ever has. The only thing I would say that's good about running in Sweden is that track has a nice long straight to it. She's going to be used to having to be a little bit more patient, but she's going to have trouble getting the lead, I think, here today. I think that Hot Pink is going to provide a hot pace. And Hot Pink has proven, as we saw in her victory when she won at Chantilly, that she's quite tenacious when she's up there. So, and Freya Bella has proven she has speed as well.
Yeah, Minwar, incidentally, was the best turned out, sponsored by Al Bastieca World, and I certainly felt she was the filly with the most scope going around the parade ring, if not necessarily the ability going forward. You can bring Laura in. I mean, there's not a great deal else to say other than that Shahama should win by quite a distance, really.
She's just so much more impressive looking than all the others. She's just got so much power and physique. She's just gorgeous. I've been talking to Khalil de Burker about Uche Travis. She was the outside of the whole field yesterday, and he's so confident she's going to run a big race. He loves this filly. He said she's going to have no problem staying, he feels, on her pedigree. He's very confident she'll stay. And he said the only thing is a bit... I did try and get all this on camera, but he's gone all the way down to the start with the filly. She's very much on her toes. He said that's just her. He said he'd be really worried if she wasn't on her toes. So the only thing that's worrying him slightly is that Shahama's got the race fitness. She's had the 2 runs, and apparently Uche Travis was entered in a race at Roe Park, and racing was off, presumably because of cold weather. I don't know why, maybe COVID. But yeah, so that was the lowdown on her. I thought it was very interesting. Yeah,
I'd be a bit more worried than just fitness with regards to Shahama, but fair play for having a go at the very least. Let's show you Shahama in action last time when she had Little Aphrodite and Minwar in behind. I mean, she's largely overcome everything she had to overcome by the time we picked things up. But she's gone. She's faced a bit of kickback, etc. Ticked a few boxes.
He just shakes his hands at her and lets her go.
Feel in the right position at least.
Yeah, I think she's going to be really competitive. She's won this by so far. She's gone out the front of our TV, the one we're looking at anyway. You know, he felt that she was just far too good, as you can see. She was just far too good for these on this occasion. He even at one point thought about taking her over to Europe, to Europe. She's in Europe, but over to England to run. He really does like this filly. So let's see how she gets on. Obviously, you know, we know that the Scandinavians have found it tough here in the past, but thank heavens they're having to go, the Europeans in here. Alice Haynes with Freya Better as well, and Usha Shravers for technically Sweden, although Khalil is Irish, because otherwise it would be a little bit of a small field local race, wouldn't it? I was fascinated by Ahmed bin Harmash saying that last week was a prep, the turf race for this race. You'd think, if anything, with her breeding, it'd be the other way around.
Well, she was another late entry, wasn't she? Hot pick.
Yeah,
so
that might have been a bit of a misquote, I think, possibly.
A very late plan.
She's a puzzled horse, yes.
Yeah. I'm going to ask the question. I suggested it about 3 years ago that I felt these 3-year-old UAE 1,000 Guineas races, the fillies races, should be scrapped altogether on the basis that they're not very competitive, on the basis that we don't really have a breeding programme over here, so what's the worth? And we should maybe go down the Hong Kong route and just be... You know, fillies can race.
Horrible idea.
Why?
I hate the idea of it just being geldings. No, what we need is a programme for them next year, so that they can stay. And the dream is to have another Cocoa Beach that wins one of these races and goes to America and wins a bunch of Grade 1s. Could happen this year. Yeah. And actually, Mikey will know more on this. But in recent years, the fillies that have gone back to America, that have come through this series, haven't really covered themselves in glory. It'll only take one good one to turn it around.
That's the point, though. Year in, year out, we're just seeing average fillies. I know Shahama, I fully accept, could be something different, but I don't know. Just if I don't know.
But it's still more interesting than the same geldings running. Like in Hong Kong, it's a fantastic racing jurisdiction, of course, but it's pretty much all geldings. There's little variety.
I'd say fillies can still race, but I'd just have. You know, I mean, if you're breeding from a filly, what does finishing third in the UAE 1,000 Guineas actually mean?
I guess the black type's still the black type, isn't it?
It's one of the most annoying sayings in racing for me. I mean, that you finish third in a listed race, no matter how bad the listed race is, you're still perceived to have black type. I don't know.
I mean, conversely, that's probably why we see a filly like this here, who was bought for a lot of money, who was brought here by connections who know that it's going to be light pickings and black type races. And she's going to have a listed race in this, a Group 3 race next time, and then a Group 2 race that could be hers, all three of them.
I mean, he's breeding that simple, though, that you just see on a page, won a listed race. Surely bloodstock agents research how good that listed race was before they...
Yeah. But I will say, though, for what it's worth, the UAE Oaks and UAE Guineas have become quality sources of good brood mares.
When Godolphin have won them?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're seeing decent animals come through them. It's not like it's and in the end, a lot of times these fillies events are for those purposes.
So this is one of my favourites. So back in 2010, when we were racing on the Tapeta here, a filly called Bikini Babe came over here for Mark Johnson, finished second to Mike de Kock's Rayhana, and that was still counted as second in a listed race. Dam of La Barossa. I love that little story. And she had no business being here, but ran a good race. They picked up the listed place, and she got on to be a good broodmare. So it can work out nicely.
Yeah, I just think these uncompetitive affairs that we saw Soft Whisper win by miles last year, there just needs to be a bit more of a depth of quality. And I accept it's not been easy buying young horses over the last 2 or 3 years, particularly for our local owners and trainers, with the inability to travel largely being in place over the years, and we're kind of reliant on Godolphin bringing a really good horse, which we have seen. But,
Don't be such an equine misogynist.
I'm just trying to generate a bit of conversation because, quite frankly, Shahama wins this, so there's not
We
lots
like
to
an
talk
argument.
about.
I would sort of agree with you. I find it a little unexciting when it's a sort of all-weather horse that's just way better than these. But this is a proper good dirt filly, and hopefully she's about to trounce them all.
Well, let's hope so.
Instead of picking our winners, we should say who's the most likely upsetter.
On the basis,
Travis. That would be fun.
she needs to settle down. She's going to be about the last one to go forward, so let's join Alistair.
Load up. Just 2 runners to load. Shahama and Freya Bella. Freya Bella moves up, goes in. Shahama completes the lineup. In goes Shahama. Time for the UAE, 1,000 guineas, they all said. And away they go. Meanwhile, ridden at early to get the better of Little Aphrodite, and for now, she can't. Third place is Hot Pink against the rail, the maroon colours, Archer Shravas. So that one's outside. Freya Bella's in 5th place, and Shahama is at the back of the field, racing only 4 lengths off the leader. Not the most genuine of pace to aim at, though, and it's Minwa in the lead by just over 1 length. Little Aphrodite is settled in 2nd as they sorted out that early position. Then comes Hot Pink. Shahama forced to improve at the outside from last to 2nd and could very well pick up the lead down the back straight. Then comes Archer Shravas, who's happy to race now 1 from last, and Freya Bella has now dropped to the back of the field. Minwa in front by 1 length, but Shahama improved down the back straight to get into 2nd. Then comes Hot Pink at the rail 3rd and 2 lengths off the leader. Then half a length away to Little Aphrodite. Freya Bella. Archer Shravas has now dropped to the end of the field down the side of the course. Minwa is the leader by half a length. Shahama is right there in 2nd as they take the angle for home. Then comes Hot Pink, who races back in 3rd. Little Aphrodite alongside her now goes past her, a couple of lengths away to Freya Bella and Archer Shravas, but now they're in line for home, and Minwa taken on as expected by Shahama, and Shahama under the hands goes past Minwa. Then a few lengths away to Little Aphrodite, a long way back to Hot Pink. Now Shahama asked 1 or 2 more questions, and she is showing her undeniable class. Shahama goes clear by 3. Minwa, admirable run and defeat. They well clear of Little Aphrodite, who's 3rd. Shahama is 3 from 3. 2nd goes to Minwa. Little Aphrodite ran 3rd. Hot Pink, Archer Shravas, and then came Freya Bella.
Well, she's done it again. Shahama makes it 3 from 3 and landing the UAE 1,000 guineas for Fauzi Nas and Adre de Vries. Again, the start may have been less than ideal. She had to circle the field to get into contention, but she had so much in hand, Mikey, that all that was quite trivial in the end.
The most dramatic part of the race we didn't even get to see because of the head on camera. Apparently she moved up about a few lengths on the outside and inhaled out inhaled most of the field.
I think the commentator just stubbed his toe, wasn't it, at the time or something, just to try and over-dramatise things. But no, she was dominant. Would they have learnt anything from that, do you think?
No. I think that, they basically just padded her resume a bit. She got her listed win. She ran a very similar race to her first race, actually.
Yeah.
Hats off to Minwa, who has, as expected, improved with distance.
Well, bearing in mind Minwa's been 8 and 9 lengths behind her on her previous 2 starts, she's gotten a little bit closer tonight, hasn't she?
Yeah, she's trying hard, and that's just nice to see. I mean, she had every right to back up. I mean, she was going a decent little pace up front. She wasn't walking by any means. She's resenting the whip here a bit.
It's been about, I'd say, 4 or 5 lengths the margin in the end.
Yeah, 4.
Could have been. I suppose it could have been nearer the 8 or 9. And Minwa's put a good deal of distance on Little Aphrodite, bearing in mind that Little Aphrodite had beaten her and indeed finished ahead of her last time. So Minwa clearly improving for the step up in trip. The rest, Laura, Uche Travis, I thought it was just a bit of a horrible race for her. She was keen on the outside, and sort of that demeanour that she expressed before the race, it sort of manifested itself in the run as well.
Yeah, she and Freya Bella had a bit of a battle for the 5th and 6th place. There was $1,500 in it, so the verdict went to Uche Travis over Freya Bella, who actually has run one of her better races since coming over here, and Alice Haynes picked up some prize money, so well done to them. But I love this feeling. And now the question is, do they go to Saudi for the Saudi Derby? So they keep it here for the... I mean, you keep it here for the UAE Oaks, UAE Derby, Kentucky Oaks. That would be my dream. But Fauzi will have different plans, I'm sure.
Off of this run and that start, I would not take her to Saudi. I mean, they can... There's a lot of money involved, and they have obviously done well with it. But, oh my, that's going to be a one-turn race where they're gonna haul hind end out of the gate, and she's going to get left behind.
Just to double check, the Saudi Derby's 9 furlongs, is that right?
8.
Is it 8?
Yeah.
So not really a Derby, more a Guineas.
Yeah.
Saudi Guineas. So she's going to say, well, she's going an extra, the same distance as tonight. So yeah, it would be
a very different surface, though.
Bearing in mind how Fauzi campaigns internationally, it would be the sort of thing that he'd maybe do.
The fact that he's got he was second in the big race in Saudi last night. Fauzi, he's got a little base there this year and a little string there, so he's doing things very much with a sort of Saudi in mind, trying to win big races over there, and he's so forward thinking and ahead of his rivals with a lot of these things. So maybe, I don't know, he's not here for us to put the questions to, but we'll try and find out what the plan was before this. And I thought Andrew, he didn't mess around, did he? He took it up fairly early. He thought, I know I'm on the best horse, why hang around, I suppose.
I think the danger is sometimes they don't learn enough. I kind of go back to Polar River. By the time she came up against the boys, she didn't seem hardy enough to cope with that, whereas maybe this filly's a bit different, do you think?
Yeah, I think he felt perhaps she learned more, as Mikey said, she perhaps learned more from her previous run, when she did have to sort of go around rivals a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, she may get a tougher time of things if it's the Oaks next. I can't see there being too many others that appear to run in it. And then the Derby, of course, only one filly's ever won that, which was Caller, so that will be an awful lot tougher.
Yeah, it's just such a brutal race with a big field. And
up in the heat of the day, up against the Japanese, couple of Americans, then we'll find out how good she is.
Yeah, almost feels that Saudi could be the easier option going forward in that respect. 3 3/4 lengths was the official winning margin. You felt it could have been double. Little Aphrodite, 11.5 lengths back in third. Hot Pink, she picked up 4th place and 7,500 dirhams. So Ahmed bin Hamash rewarded for sticking her in at the last minute. Fauzi Nast, as we've said, not here today. Minwar, Mikey, does she have the scope to go for the Oaks trip-wise?
Oh, very much so. Look at her. The way she finished, she's a bit one pace and a grinder, but that's what you want to see. She resented the whip a little bit. I think she was trying hard on her own, but she's young, and I love that she was on the right lead. So important on the dirt. She's got not a stayer's pedigree. She's got a good 2-turn pedigree, we would say, in the States, so she can handle a mile and 3/16 quite easily. I'm not so sure she's going to shorten the gap, but I don't think it's going to lengthen either between her and Shahama when they go a little bit farther, because Shahama is bred very much on the same lines to be just as good at a mile as she is at a mile and an 1/8, mile and 3/16. I mean, to me, I was very impressed with Minwa's run. I feel like it's a nice progression for her. It's a shame she hasn't won a race yet.
As Laura said, it's unlikely to be any different, really, in the Oaks. I mean, Sybinster may throw something in, but you felt he'd have thrown something in tonight had he got a filly for this series. They were all well beaten, weren't they, in the trial? So hard to, unless something just emerges from nowhere, that it's going to be the same fillies again, and just all boils down to whether Fauzi Nast decides to run Shahama in it or go to Saudi. So I'll take it from the start again. And Pat Dobbs was obviously quite keen to try and get to the front with Minwar, and felt that was his best chance of winning and kind of running the finish out of Shahama.
Yeah, and I think he's just reading the track as well, where he needs to be, especially in these mile races. You really need to be on the rail and near the front, or on it.
Would you have been concerned at this point if you'd have backed Shahama at 4s on, just that she's wide? And
no, this is apparently where she made her secretariat-esque move up the outside. Apparently, we can't see it at this point, but she does pass noticeably a few horses there. She does it fairly easily, and her action is it's not the prettiest to look at, but she picks up the ground really nicely.
Yeah. And you can see the die was almost cast with Uche Travis in that she was wide. I suppose in a perfect world would they have wanted to have led with her, I guess? But
in a perfect world they would have liked to have had some kind of dent on the race. But she's already spit the bit. She's struggling on the outside. I don't know why she was kept out as wide as she was. Considering her only previous race, she went straight to the front and got to the rail.
Yeah.
But, different strokes, I suppose. The time on here was 1:38. It was just 139.08, so 0.41 slower than Soft Whisper last year. So about 2 lengths off Soft Whisper, which is very impressive considering Soft Whisper won by a pole.
Yeah, and Shahama very much won this on the bridle. You felt Adrede de Vie just pushing her out under hands and heels to go and record what looked a long 3 3/4 lengths, yawning gap back to Little Aphrodite in third. I thought 1 point Freya Bella was going to grab fifth, but Uche Chavez has at least stuck to her task, and Freya Bella probably didn't get home. As we take a close-up of Adrede de Vie sitting motionless. There's not a great deal of difference in the size and scope, really, of these two fillies. Obviously, Shahama's got a good engine. Meanwhile, just seems to flash her tail a bit. What you were saying about resenting the whip.
Yeah, she's like, I'm trying. Come on.
Maybe they should take her to Sweden. You can't use the whip in Sweden anymore, from April onwards. So maybe she should head there. But Adrede de Vie not had to get at all serious. He's been out of action the last 2 weeks due to a positive COVID test, we believe. So he'd been fairly relieved to have got back on this one, wouldn't he?
Yeah, and he's very excited to get back on her. He's very high on her, and this yard will never tout too much on a horse, but ever since that first race where she kind of exceeded expectations, they've not been afraid to, which is nice to see, because we know what she is. I mean, she's obviously top class.
And when you spend that much, you sort of expect them to be pretty good, don't you?
And that's what I kind of wanted to touch on earlier. We haven't seen a lot of that here. I mean, we'll see it. We'll see 2 million horses come through the RDS sale and sell for 40,000 dirhams, but we're not seeing $425,000 OBS grads come back 6 to 8 months later as well-intended sorts. And hats off to Fauzi and team for choosing this program, because it's right for the picking for this kind of a horse.
I suppose what you're saying there is a lot of fillies, any horse really that costs $60,000, $70,000, guineas, whatever it is, you are basically buying at the bottom end of the scale. And you're right, we do see a lot of horses that cost that much coming in as 2-year-olds. So perhaps we are expecting too much for them to be world beaters all the time. You might look upon one every now and again that's a bit better than the pedigree suggests, or better than the amount of money that they've spent. But you know, when you go out and spend this much, you expect a return, which is what they've clearly got. And she'd be worth a bit more already, wouldn't she, having won those 3 starts, including a listed race here?
Yeah, very much so. And I'm surprised that a lot of, I think it's only a matter of time until a yard or a barn like Doug O'Neill catches on that there's a big vacancy in the 3-year-old filly department, especially when the pool for, say, the Kentucky Oaks in the States is not nearly as strong as the Kentucky Derby with the colts. No. So with the fillies, the pool is to make resale value or broodmare value in general. And like I said, we got listed in Group 3 races sitting with it.
What's the sort of process for running in the Kentucky Oaks? I know it's a point system for the Derby. Is it the same for the Oaks?
There is a point system, but it's a whole lot less complicated.
Maybe they should make the UAE Oaks a win in your race for Kentucky.
I think they do get maybe 10 points. I'd have to check on that. Can't speak on it too much, but the UAE Derby obviously.
Yeah, that points straight to it. Yeah.
So I mean, if the Oaks doesn't have any points, then I guess a UAE Derby winning filly or runner-up can earn Derby points without Oaks points.
Maybe that's something they need to try and look at to boost the program. I know for years ago, we're talking now, that I think a winner or an international winner of the Cape Verde or Balanchine would automatically receive a nomination to a Darley Stallion.
Yeah.
I think I'm right in saying that. So maybe, I've spoken about scrapping this series and was shot down in flames by Laura, but maybe we just need to come up with some sort of incentives like this to maybe get 1 or 2 more over.
I mean, I think the real disincentive with the entire program is that there's no program when they get older.
Yeah. And they're rated very highly, having won a list.
And if an owner's investing in 2 to 3 years of training, then why is a private owner going to send a filly over here for just 1 year of training and then they have to go somewhere else?
Oh, this switch surfaces for the fillies races,
So, I mean, that's just not worth their time as much for some people. Then you have some owners who like to send some of their homebred fillies here, like Charles Fipke, and Chuck likes to send them here, send a few to Doug, see how they do, and then bring them home.
I was going to say, he's got then the facility to take them back to America, whereas a lot of our local owners wouldn't really know what to do on that score, I guess, and unless they're pushed in the right direction, of course, by Doug Watson, or they're sold on. I suppose that would be my biggest way of going about it. Win a couple of races over here and sell them back to America.
And I was talking to Leandro Mora about this. So I was like, did you have anything in your 3-year-old filly division? He's like, he said he's looking at the races and saying obviously they're not the strongest. He's like, we do, but they're too good right now.
Yeah, I think that's half the problem with a lot of the 3-year-olds in England as well. If they are just that bit too good, then they are sticking around for a Nell Gwyn or something like that in preparation for a 1,000 guineas at Newmarket rather than trying to win something over here. So it's tricky to maybe get.
It's an area that can definitely, you can see a path for it to be improved.
Yeah.
That is for certain, and that's at least nice to see. We know that it can be improved by doing this and this.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a dead-end series.
Yeah. It's easy for us to sit here and say do this and do this as well, but
we'd also like to tell all the trainers how to do their jobs if we can.
And have a horse for this race and a horse for that race, and not always easy to pull off. But anyway, the trophy presentation amidst all that womble has taken place, or is taking place, we should say. That was the EMAR-sponsored UAE 1,000 guineas. It's gone the way of Adre de Vries and Fauzi Nas, just the 3rd local winner outside of Godolphin to land this particular race, following in the hoof prints of Folk and Polar River. And Shahama was every bit as impressive. We can hopefully hear from Winning Connections shortly, but maybe not. So we'll find out a bit more about Niels Peterson's chances in our upcoming race. He saddles King David.
Trainer Niels Peterson got a live shot tomorrow evening in the Zabeel Mile along with King David. Just talk about his preparation, how he's settled in, and choosing the race. Why did you choose it over the 10 furlong?
We settled in well. We came down mid-December and he's adapted nice into the environment here. Seems in good form. We choose to go the mile because I think stretching 10 furlongs is stretching him a bit far first time out after a long break. So the choice actually went that way. And then it's been a handicap. The 10 furlong is always so competitive. So actually the other race is a couple of good horses, but in general it looks maybe a better race for him.
And with the ability to stretch out as the distances get farther, do you look down the road? Is this kind of a stepping stone to going a little bit further with him?
Could be. And it's a little bit how, in Scandinavia the race tend to race very fast and obviously finish. But here sometimes you can hold up and sometimes on the grass a little bit. We see a little bit how he handles it. And then it's a big track here. It's a little more consuming for the horses when they come around here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we can go further here, but I think it's a good starting stone here, and start off at a mile.
And just touch on your big star in Square Deline, how he's coming along. I know he hasn't even the easiest to train sometimes and get ready. Just touch on how he's doing.
He's doing well now, and actually I was on about running him tomorrow, but just not 100% there yet. So he's won over 9 furlongs, 10 furlongs, and a mile and a half. And the Mile Millennium Stakes looks a good target, gives us a bit more time with him, and looks amazing now. And it's just a matter of time before he sort of gets where we want him before he races. But I believe the Mile Millennium Stakes is a target.
It's a shame we don't see Square Deline tonight. That was the plan, wasn't it? He's always struck as being a tricky horse to get right. There is the latest winner of Faces at the Races. The gentleman's won a voucher for the MEYDAN Hotel. Delighted with that he is as well. It's Square Deline. He looks... quite often the best horses are the trickiest ones to get right, and that's proven the case with him, isn't it?
He's looked like a monster in the mornings.
Yeah.
He's
I think that's half his problem. He's so big and strong.
And he looks, unlike, 2 years ago he was here, he looks a lot fitter than at that time when he was basically walking around like a camel. This time he's fitter, he's on the muscle, he looks ready to run. You can tell Niels is a little bit nervous about it, so he must be approaching it. It's a shame we didn't get to see him in this race because you take out Star Safari and there's no Star.
No.
Quite literally. And he could have won this. It's a shame, but especially it would have been nice to see in a listed race two really nice horses. It's not a one horse race by any means. No. There is a horse here, and for example, Yahdi, who won it last year for Charlie at the time, and now is with Bupat, who could possibly win this. There are lots of outsiders to look at.
It might be a listed race, but it is based on ratings, one of those rated conditions races we can find out more about now from Laura.
Yeah, a little bit of fallout, first of all, from our UAE 1000 Guineas. I spoke to Sheikh Daish, who is one of the owners of Shahama, and he said, of course, he'll discuss it with Fauzi and the whole team, but he did imply that he thinks it will be the Group 3 UAE Oaks next, then all being well onto the Derby, and then they might look at sending her to America. So really exciting plans and great news for Dubai racegoers that we will see her next here, all being well. On to race 5, though, and we're back on the turf for this one. It's our listed Zabil turf. And this one, over the 2,000 metres, it's a listed rated conditions event. Number 1 is Star Safari, who's going to take the world of beating here. Then we have Erzijan, ran a good race last time for Ahmed bin Hamash. El Patriota switches back to the turf here, as does Maurice Diamond, who's going to be way happier on it. Integrant is the mount of Adi Javri, looking for a quick double. Work in progress is what James Doyle said about this horse earlier on. We have Dubai Mirage, Gabba for Doug Watson, Morden. Record Man, I think, might run a big race. Vintager, likewise. Yahayati, been ready to run for a while, was what Bupat said earlier. Dubai Horizon is number 13. Sakara King is 14, completes the lineup. Bupat Seema rides, trains, Richie Mullen rides.
So, yeah, 14 runners, which on the face of things should provide a competitive race, but Star Safari has come up very short in the
You know, it's just a question of whether or not you believe he's going to come back to his best. I thought his run last time was was good enough. It was very similar to his run in this race last year. And I think this might have been his first race back last year, was this one.
Yeah.
I may have been wrong.
So.
I have to look at that again. But to me, in the flesh, he looks excellent. Every bit the horse to beat. So obviously very short right now at 8 to 11, but he looks the part.
Drawn to get the run of the race as well from stall 3. This is horse number 3, El Patriota. Antonio Sintra has said all along that he'd like to get one or two of his horses onto the turf. In the case of El Patriota, it will be back onto the turf because he's a winner on grass back home. He was third behind Aldnaford, but he was beaten an awful long way. That will have served a purpose, though, and going up in trip is also positive.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the turf will suit him just fine. Instead of a Pure Prize mare, Pure Prize is actually a surprisingly good turf sire in the States for the Phippses. Yeah, he's a bit of a grinder, though. He's not actually going to show electric turn of foot. In these 10 furlong races, they're not grinding races. You're seeing horses really put him to bed.
Yeah, he is always the concern as well when they switch from the dirt, the different style of racing, whereas you say they just keep going as fast as they can for as long as they can, but they've just got to have a bit of tactical nous about them on the grass. That's where the Godolphin horses often excel. Maurice Diamond tried the dirt last time in the brutal assignment that was the first round of the Mac Team Challenge. He showed speed.
And nothing else.
Briefly showed speed before dropping through the field. He's back in his comfort zone here, but even the trip would appear to be far enough for a horse that likes to get on with things.
Yeah, it's much too far for him to be remotely effective in here. He's up against it again. Perhaps they will work into something he can be competitive in soon.
Yeah, the problem with these European horses coming over rated 100, there aren't those handicap options. I mean, this is in theory a handicap with it being a rated conditions race, but not really well suited by the weight that he carries. So we have to respect the French, and Itigrant comes in this as one of the least exposed runners in the field. He is 3 from 6. Horse by Frankel, winner at Deauville on the all-weather last time.
Very dangerous in here. Very, very, very dangerous. The French have 2 wins already in 3 meetings, and they haven't had that many starters. Audrey picks up the mount, which is huge in my opinion. That one of the best, if not the best, rider here. 3 for 6, comes off a win in November. To me, all signs point to top 3 finish.
A racing of 101 for winning a listed race seems on the shy side, so he's open to more improvement. Dubai Mirage finished second to Al Kamel in a non-carnival event on his reappearance. That was over 1,400 metres. He goes up to this trip, 2,000 now. He had every chance in that race. There might have been an element of him not having the speed to go past over the 7 furlongs, but he is kind of that horse that does find 1 or 2 invariably too good for him anyway.
Yeah, and the trip just seems too far for him here. He just seems to be more of a speed-laden miler type, and and has barely ever shown the killer instinct you'd like to see from a winner.
This is Gabba. Break from stall 14. Makes his reappearance today. They tried him on dirt last year and he won a weak race, then backfired in the Jebel Ali Mile. He found his level on turf, finishing third in a non-carnival event on his final start, but you'd imagine appears a bit vulnerable in this. This is Morden, who'll be happier back down in trip, you feel, after being well beaten by Dubai Future last time. But again, he's an 8-year-old whose best days seem to be behind him. You'd imagine his mark will be on the slide, and this is one I'd give a chance to, Mikey. Record Man, he was only a length and a quarter behind Star Safari last time. They're on the same terms today, but Record Man I feel is just going to be as suited to the drop back to 2,000 metres as Star Safari is.
Yeah, he ranged up like a proper horse last time. Looked like he had a shot there. Just didn't have that electric turn of foot that you need in order to win races like this and like that. That's, I think, the major knock against him.
Yeah.
I think he'll be in the mix. I think there are 2 horses, and one we'll see in just a moment, who are not the favorites here, but have a serious chance.
Vintager I wouldn't completely rule out. He stuck to his task well enough behind Path of Thunder. That was over a mile on his reappearance. Looks worth another go at this sort of trip on the way. He sort of just kept plodding on, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's always been somewhat well regarded, and a horse with 6 wins out of 23 starts. I'm going to respect him. And this yard has been a little cold in the last couple carnivals and has yet to recover, but it's not impossible.
And this is Yahayati, who did win this race last year when in the care of Charlie Appleby. That was off a mark of 92. He's run after that was perfectly respectable behind the same horse he beat in Bright Melody. Still only got 7 starts, so he's got the scope to go forward as well.
I love his chances in here. I think that he won this, and not just because I picked him in last year's race, but at a big price as well. But I just have always liked him. I loved Wedding Toast when she ran in the States. She was a Grade 1 winner on the dirt, and a nice street sense mare. But I've always liked him, especially at 2,000 meters. He seems to turn over quite well. He's only had 1 run since. Like you said, it wasn't bad at all. And his record, his vet record that's available when you go through the sale catalog was fairly clear. Like he had really nothing wrong with him. I just think he didn't quite fit the higher status and the horses that they would want at that level in Malton Paddocks. And now he's here, and he's going to be someone else's joy.
Could be worth a go on the dirt as well at some point. This is Worko, who has some of the Kingman characteristics in that he's looking a little bit awkward going down to the start. Got the hood on for the first time. That's perhaps another reason to expect a better run than on his reappearance, where he was quite keen. I think he might have sort of run out of a bit of gas as well on that occasion.
Yeah, it's not a shock if he runs a huge race here. Yeah. I think in the flesh he looks fantastic. He came behind us last and went out last. So they're making some amendments quickly with him to figure out what his issues are. Obviously, they're trying to keep him as quiet as possible. Both of the tactics we see, going out late, putting on the hood. So, James is riding well right now, so he's dangerous.
We obviously felt he was capable of at least throwing his hat into the Derby ring, having won the Epsom Trial, which was a win in a year-in race, I believe. Then went to Chester, where the ground turned, and he was just a bit too keen on that occasion and faded out of things very tamely. But maybe we can find out a bit more from Laura from Connections in this of this race. So before we do that, there's Sakara King, who went down to the start early. He's another one that's a little bit keen.
Gorgeous animal.
Yeah.
Cost $300,000, I think, at the sale. One of the few prices I remember, because I thought he was one of the picks of the sale. He's been interestingly campaigned. Some ambitious moments there. I thought that maybe the sale race might have been a nice spot for him. It was a little easier.
The dirt doesn't seem to have worked, does it?
I mean,
first 2 starts.
I don't think the jig is up yet with the dirt. I feel like he probably just needs to get a little more used to it, because he's bred top and bottom for it, and he hits the ground like that. I think maybe he has some issues here and there that are preventing him from really extending himself as much as they'd like, and he definitely shouldn't have been in in either of the dirt races he's had.
Indeed, he's certainly struggled, and back on the grass he'll be a lot happier. Well, I think it was a few minutes before the post time. They are down at the start, making their way around.
There's Yahayati.
Yeah, Yahayati. New colours. I don't recall having seen these
Tatiana Magali
before. Indeed, that'd be his the first runner in those colours here in the UAE. Star Safari, then we can show you. We've already seen this piece of form tonight already. Dubai Future, having said that Dubai Future let the form down for Star Safari, he has, of course, let it down for Record Man as well. But Record Man's in front at this point. Star Safari does come with a solid enough run, just can't quicken in the same style as the winner.
Yeah, it's just, he ran a much better race than Record Man, at least. Record Man basically had the run of it, turning for home. Record Man has been campaigned like a horse that should almost peak in this spot. Yeah. Just whether or not it's good enough. In the end, this is where you find whether or not you have a carnival horse or you have an Abu Dhabi horse.
Yeah, he had one good run, didn't he, at Abu Dhabi? And that one run last time at MEYDAN showed that he's, I suppose, carnival capable of at least finishing in the first 3. Dubai Mirage is another piece of form we can perhaps show you. I don't think this form is quite good enough. Finishing second behind Al Kamal is not exactly a tick on your CV. He was up to £3 as well for his efforts, and you can just see he came with every chance, didn't he?
Yeah, no excuses. I thought Antonio and Al Kamal really rode a nice race in here. I mean, it was Al Kamal's first run in a long time on the grass. He kept them as close as he could and just was able to outsprint them in the end, and then was brought back way too quickly in the wrong spot in the group to Al Tahiti Fort. But the runner up there, I mean, he, like you said, he didn't really have an excuse. He didn't show any killer instinct. He didn't have enough in the tank. That was going 7 furlongs. 7 furlongs. Stretches out considerably. very little chance unless he runs the race of his life.
Yeah, he's going to need to, you feel, or at least improve for the step up in trip, which could happen by Dubawi. Will be his second attempt at this distance. So they are beginning to edge forwards. Naturally going to try and take Star Safari on. I've gone with Record Man, hoping to give a bold show from stall 4.
You know, on the socials I did pick Star Safari, but if there's one horse that I think might run huge, I've mentioned before, is Yahayati.
Yeah.
I think he's just a quality horse that has done nothing wrong.
Yes, that's a couple from the bang-informed Bupat Seymour yard then, up against Star Safari from the equally informed Charlie Appleby camp. Worko not to be dismissed either. He's a threat with the hood on for the first time, in the hope that calms him down a little bit. Maurice Diamond in the pink, likely to go forward, you'd imagine, from his gate. There's El Patriota. Not too many left to go forward then. Let's join Alistair.
St. Jan will be next. Vintager, Gabar, Yahayati. St. Jan now moves up. Here comes Vintager, Gabar. Yahayati. The last one, Zabil Turf. All in, and away they go. Integrant gave away a few places at the start, drops out to the back of the field. Sakara King broke out well, gets across, was given a free place against the rail. Maurice Diamond also happy to race up handy, but taking a bit of a tug. Ozan Jan is 3 deep at the outside of the leaders. Then comes Vintager, who races a bit closer. Record Man, yellow sleeves and red cap. On the outside, Dubai Mirage, also striding freely to go and improve position. Virko's next best, that's in the blue jacket and the white cap, racing just ahead of midfield. El Patriota gets racing in and amongst runners. Then comes Gabar. Star Safari is in the all blue. Yahariati is in the green sleeves and cap, and running onto heels, also taking a bit of a hold, signs of a pretty sedate gallop again. Then comes Morden, the red and white colours stuck out deep. Dubai Horizon was next best, and the slow starting Integrant is at the end of the field, 1,200 metres out. Maurice Diamond ended up winning the battle for the lead and has gone clear by about a length. Ozan Jan is second. Then comes Sakara King after breaking out well, getting across, slotted onto the rail in third. Then comes Dubai Mirage racing away in fourth and about 3 lengths from the leader, the red cap at the outside of Vintager. Record Man got a nice run, the yellow jacket and the red cap. Then comes Virko, who's been tickled up at the outside of runners. El Patriota one off the rail. Star Safari hugs the fence in the all blue. Then comes Gabar, Yahayati, green sleeves and cap, Dubai Horizon. Then comes Morden, a length and a half away to Integrant, and they're about to spin for home. They got 600 metres left to go. Maurice Diamond brought them in. Zinjan is second. Then comes Dubai Mirage. Sakara King is racing away in fourth. Then comes Record Man looking for a way through. Star Safari took the shortest route home but hit a flat spot. Then comes Vintager and El Patriota, 250 out. Maurice Diamond, Zinjan. Then comes Dubai Mirage. Star Safari now starts to wind up towards the far side. Zinjan goes up to join Maurice Diamond. All the while Star Safari gets on terms and bursts clear. Star Safari will get out of trouble and win. Second Maurice Diamond, then came Zinjan. They're at a Dubai Mirage. Integrant took off for fifth. El Patriota, Gabar, Sakara King, Record Man. Then came Dubai Horizon. They were ahead of Vintager. Morden was next. Then came Virko and Yahayati.
Well, not a win that looked likely for the most part, but a case of rinse and repeat come the finish as Star Safari got through on the inside. William Buick bided his time. The gap opened perfectly as Maurice Diamond just edged off the rail ever so slightly, presenting the opening, and Star Safari didn't disappoint, not exactly winning as an odds-on favourite should, but in the end, class shone through, and that's victory number 4 from 7 here in the UAE for the 6-year-olds.
Yeah, it was smart. William rode the horse like he was the best, and obviously he delivered there. I would say he's not as electric as he was last year. He probably has another start though to get to that kind of fitness level. But yeah, that was useful, and he was carrying top weight, mind you, at 60 and anywhere between 2 and I think 10 more than everybody else. 2 and 6 kilos more than everybody else. So yeah, it was very impressive, very smart victory, and to me, he's just he basically outweighed this entire field the entire time, and there was no way that they were going to beat him if he was near his best.
Looking at the way he's sort of stuck to his task. You can
Yeah.
see why they've tried him over as far as a mile and a half, particularly around here. He has needed most of this 2,000 metres to get on top, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's to me, he just shapes like a horse that maybe takes a bit. He probably doesn't do much back home.
No.
He probably takes a bit of time, a bit of racing to get back to his best. But he seems to be genuine in his performance, which, you know, his ears are pricked at the end here. I think he knows. Maybe he's getting clever,
Yeah.
to be honest. You know, when I see this kind of body language from a horse, usually they're getting clever and they're not extending themselves any more than they have to.
No, it's a great run by Maurice Diamond in second. Maybe the dirt experiment did just sharpen him up for this run. And Erzincan ran really well at 50 to 1 there, Mikey in third.
Yeah, that was good. Well done. Well done. You're just gonna lightly mention
Just
that.
thought I'd note that, yeah. The eye catcher though, Laura, was Integrant. I know you spoke to his trainer before the race. He was anchored right out the back for much of the way by Adrien Ivry. He's flown home to finish fifth in the end. That was a really good run.
Yeah, it was a fascinating interview with Francois Devin. It would have been nice if our viewers
best in terms of prize money and numbers. So very thankful to all of those teams at home.
And obviously, once you have a few winners, you get a bit of confidence. Do you find, therefore, it just helps you make better decisions in a race?
Yeah, when it goes wrong, you can find yourself kind of questioning whether you did something wrong rather than if it went wrong. And then you try and second guess yourself, and then you do make the wrong decisions. Whereas when you're riding winners, it just seems to happen naturally, and you just do things, and if it doesn't work out, that's racing. Whereas if you're under pressure, you can find yourself second guessing and you lose confidence. Well, I certainly find I do anyway. I saw a lot of lads who'd agree with that.
Mm-hmm. And you've been over here for a number of years now. You were apprenticed to Zabeel, of course. And what do you think you kind of learned during your time in Dubai for them and of course for Saeed here?
I mean, Zabeel was massively important in my career, because I was just lost a £7 claim in England, and it taught me so much about pace, and let's talk about staying in the limelight. It kind of took me away from the limelight and let me kind of develop as a rider, kind of strength-wise, and little things like using my stick in both hands. So when I went back to the UK, there was a massive difference in my riding from when I left, and my career took another step up from there. I was doing reasonably well, but it kind of elevated my riding a little bit. And, well, I say a little bit, quite a lot. And, it was a massive step forwards for me.
And do you feel now you're kind of where you want to be career-wise, having had a really good year, a little bit of a breakthrough with a group win?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I always want to do better in my riding and in my...
No other owner has secured more than one. So that's the dominance of Goodall from the trophy presentation there, as you can see, for that fifth contest taking place. And Sophie Chrétien again on board. She does most of the work over here in the UAE. Charlie pops in and out during the winter months. Sophie here full time, and William Buick to collect his trophy from what was a very good ride, it has to be said.
Very good.
Obviously taking a bit of a gamble that rail would stay, but it certainly did, and was a good victory aboard Star Safari, taking good advantage of that presentable opportunity in our fifth. Details for race 6 upcoming, courtesy of Laura.
I'm really looking forward to this one. It's officially, I guess, the lowest rated race on the card, apart from the graduate stakes. It's only a rated conditions over the 1,400 metres on the dirt, but I just think it's got a fascinating lineup of horses who could, at this stage, be really very good, and ones who've proven so far that they are already very good. number 1 has gone to start already, Duca de Como, very early. And he's a fascinating horse, won 17 races in Scandinavia. Number 2 is Mabaka. I think he's been saved for this race by Doug Watson. He's got a big chance. Highland Dress was bought specifically to race at the Carnival on dirt by a new syndicate. He's trained by Ian Williams. We have Imperial Empire, very good record over course and distance. UAE 2000 Guineas winner of last year returns. Muhib lines up for Nicholas Bachelard and Richie Mullen. We have Upper Class for Team Uruguay. Bochart, 6 times course winner, including 4 times over this course and distance. Desert Safari having his first start here. Certis, I think you can scratch his last run. He was lame. He judged on his run before. He wouldn't be completely out of this. And we have number 10, Behavioural Bias. And 11, Desert Doctor. Really loves it round here. He's on his 3rd carnival. And Island Rule, another one who comes in here with some really good form, making this, I think, a pretty open race.
Well, a dirt handicap, or rated conditions race, whatever you want to call it, at the Carnival invariably means a clash between Doug Watson and Zabeel, Bupat Seemar, and that pretty much looks the case here, Mikey. Doug Watson's got Mubaka, Bupat, Imperial Empire, and a viable outsider in Bochart and Behavioural Bias.
Yeah, I don't think Doug's going to need much more than Mubaka in this race. He shapes extremely well. I think he's market's 2nd choice right now behind Imperial Empire. He's getting a lot of support.
He is, yeah.
But, you know, Mubaka had options where to go, and I think this is something they circled on the calendar because I guess he looks like a horse who could be a Shaheen horse or he could be a Godolphin Mile horse.
In betwixt and between.
And yeah, and
moment,
this will give them an idea which way to go with him. My gut says the Mile might be a better place for him to be victorious, but he might actually be better suited to a Shaheen when it comes to his speed figures and how well he's going to run.
Breaking from stall 10, he might have to cover a mile today, so we'll certainly find out a lot about him. And here he is in shot. Had that first start of the season back at the start of December where he beat On the Warpath, form that's worked out well with that horse going on and finishing 3rd in the Dabawi. Very much a case of untapped potential with him. They brought him along gradually, gave him the 1 start at the end of last season, and you felt this has been the main target for a while.
I think I was there the day he got into the yard well before he ever ran, and he's just a stunner, really. He's one of the few gray Speightstown's I've ever seen. But he much more favors his mother, Ready to Act, who was a more than ready filly who was with Chad Brown in the States, and she won the Beaumont when I believe it was all weather at Keeneland. And she just had a lot of class to her, just like him. And he's 6 years old. He only has 8 starts. He's won half of them. He's very much a dirt horse. My only bash against him is that he didn't change leads last time. He's going to have to do that if he's going to jump into group form.
This is horse number 3, Highland Dress, who's been bought specifically with this Dubai campaign in mind and with a dirt pedigree to boot. Used to be trained by Archie Watson back in the UK. Doesn't exactly arrive here unexposed, does arrive on the back of a reasonably recent run, and I suppose he could always show a bit for the dirt surface, but strikes me as he's coming up against a couple of completely unexposed dirt performers here.
Yeah, not without a chance to move forward on this surface. 24 races and never tried the dirt, which is a shame considering he's out of a street crime mare. But yeah, I think he'll do just fine here. I think he's finished in the first half of the field, and hopefully for Hickey and team, he takes home a big piece of the prize.
Yeah, let's hope so. William Buick rides him. This horse has gone down to the start early. Duca de Como. He's actually been one of the horses that's impressed me most in the mornings. He mixed his turf and dirt back home. He's run with. He is sort of amongst the best back in Scandinavia. I suppose a lot of his wins have come over further, but he's drawn well in stall 4 and could show up a bit.
I mean, he's rated 108. I mean, he's got some chutzpah behind him here. Like he's a serious horse back home, and he's won 17 races. No matter where you live and you win 17 races, you got some quality too. Out of 27 overall, 9 out of 13 on the dirt. He's going up against different gravy here. That's the only issue. There are listed races, but he's finishing up in 137.9. I mean, he's not flying home. The 134.4 he ran it in Sweden is quite quick. And he beat Ambassadorial that day, which gives you some line on him. Ambassadorial would be well suited in this race.
Certainly would. It's Imperial Empire, who ran really well, I thought, in first round of the Maktoum Challenge, although now similar question marks hang over him as they did Eastern World early on as to whether that race is going to leave a bit of a mark. But he did win his first 2 starts on dirt. And
oh, it will. At least I think so. I think that it was a hard race on a lot of horses.
yeah.
Those 7 furlongs and mile races on the dirt, to me, are 2 of the hardest, if not the hardest, distances on a horse. They just there's no letting down. Basically, they're running hard for a full minute and a half, and you know it's hard to recover from those. I'll be very shocked if he runs back to his best form, but he doesn't. He may not need to be at his best to be in the top 2 or 3 here.
There's a team behind Mahib who we got a good shot of there. He's a fine-looking horse. He was one of the best 3-year-olds around last year, as he showed when winning the Guineas, beating Mashakal on that occasion. Probably didn't stay in the UAE Derby, still ran well, went 5th to Rebels Romance. That form, as it stands, has taken quite a few knocks over the weeks of the season so far, and he is reappearing quite late, so he'll need to be smart, I think, to win this. We'll find out a lot about him today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always thought really highly of him. I know he didn't beat much last year, and that the 3-year-old crop last year has been, well, it was pretty bad. I mean, but he showed a lot of class. I thought that he's always shown a lot of class. And then this the whole yard, they thought really highly of him. He's well bred. He's well thought of. He was a high-cost sale. I think he's going to need the run. Nicholas has been very vocal about that. But he gets an astronomical, I would say, well, I don't say astronomical. He gets a considerable upgrade in pilot.
Let's look at Beauchart, upper class. We saw as well, number 6, Beauchart. I mean, these are his conditions, I think, nowadays. 7 furlongs on the dirt, drawn on the inside. If he breaks, he could prove hard to peg back.
Yeah, if he breaks on top from post 3, then he should be leading the way. It's just whether or not he has that second punch and whether or not he gets a break around the bend to give you that nice little punch at the end. Last time he didn't want to change leads. He hasn't wanted to change leads, but when he does, he gets that extra punch, and he is extremely tough to beat. He should not have been in the race last week. That's probably going to take some starch out of him today. This is the race he should have been in. Let's see whether or not it does that. I feel like 7 furlongs, this field, he's top 3.
We've passed a few and gone to Desert Doctor, who's a 7-year-old now who doesn't really have much right to go on the dirt, but he turns up most carnivals and runs an honest enough race. I can see him sort of plodding on and finishing 4th or 5th, best case scenario today.
Oh yeah, I was talking to Ed Walker about this 2 days ago, and he said he's
race over here. Maybe that explains his exuberance. They were a bit worried to do too much with him in the morning, and there's probably a fine line between him being fit and
boiling over.
Top.
Yeah, possibly. I didn't ask her about any quirks for the horse. His record is absolutely phenomenal, and she sort of said he's won all the big races at home. He may as well try and go somewhere else. The one I interested me at a big old price was Certis. Just pretend he didn't run last time, then he comes here off a decent second behind Imperial Empire.
Yeah, Imperial Empire's favourite. Yeah,
I've never seen a Franco pick up the dirt and win here outside of that big plotting thing for
immortalized.
Yeah, for
True. Good
but
point.
he is a beauty, though. He's a good-looking
big old horse.
Yeah, he is.
He finished lame last time. That was the excuse for that very below par run.
Imagine 3 strides around Sharjah and he's done. Such a big horse. There's Beauchart, talking of big horses. So they are loading steadily for this race. Imperial Empire, I thought was my selection, as long as this didn't come too soon after the Maktoum Challenge. Mikey?
I'll do an ice-cold exacta Mubaka over Beauchart
to make the run in and stick around for a bit of it. Laura?
I was with Imperial Empire, even before he was favourite. I'll stick with him.
Yeah, he's certainly been well supported. There goes Beauchart. There is Imperial Empire. A clash that we built between the 2 big local dirt stables in Doug Watson and Bupat Seymour. But is there anything else in there to upset things? It looks as though we have a jockey not on board. I think it was Sean Curran on behavioural bias.
Wow.
So maybe there's just an issue with him. Sean Curran is now at the outside of the rail as well.
He's riding from there.
So there he is. So it sounds as though he might be a non-runner. He's a little bit lame, Sean. But hopefully none the worse for, presumably it was a stalls incident. Yeah, he's not going to run by the looks of things. So that is going to be one less for Alistair Cohen to call home with just upper class and Mubaka potentially to go forward.
On veterinary advice. Here comes upper class, Mubaka. Muhib will be the last one, along with Certis. Certis and Muhib. 1,400 metres to race. And they're off. Desert Safari broke out well. Duca de Como also broke out nicely. Little to choose between them in the early stages, but Desert Safari allowed to slide by. Duca de Como is only half a length away in second. Muhib in the yellow colours is out in third at the outside of Beauchart. Then comes Island Rule. The maroon colour starts to stride freely at the outside and go a lot closer to the leaders. Mubaka stuck out deep. Imperial Empire is behind midfield. Then comes Certis and Desert Doctor. They all race in a bunch. Half a length away then we find Upper Class, who's towards the back of the field. And Highland Dress is the trailer, and just lost touch with him at the corner of the track, and Desert Safari stacks them up at the corner in front by half a length. Island Rule strode freely at the outside to now get alongside. Duca de Como in between them is third and only half a length away. Certis is running onto heels. Then comes Mubaka. Muhib is in the yellow colours, being asked a few questions. They follow up Beauchart, who swings for home, only 4 lengths adrift. Imperial Empire wants to get into the open. Desert Doctor, they followed by Upper Class, and that leaves Highland Dress at the end of the field, but Island Rule goes for home. Mubaka second. Then comes Duca de Como. Muhib is out of the pack. Then comes Desert Doctor. Nothing to come from Desert Safari. Here comes Mubaka. Gets alongside Island Rule. Mubaka's got momentum, got a head of steam. Will be hard to stop, and Mubaka will score. Second to Island Rule. Muhib was third. Desert Doctor, Imperial Empire, Duca de Como. Then came Beauchart. They're ahead of Certis, Upper Class, Desert Safari, and Highland Dress.
Well, it looks like Doug Watson's got another good dirt performer on his hands as Mubaka makes it 2 from 3 on the surface, wearing down Island Rule, who's run another very solid race to finish second once again. His term looks to be near. And Muhib, I thought he was going to drop away at one stage, but he has really found his second wind to grab third. So 3, I think, really promising horses. I think Desert Doctor's done what we expected him to do and run on to finish 4th. So it looked a good race on paper, Mikey, and I think it's transpired in events.
Yeah, very much so. The winner was just traveling on the bit the entire time. He was really in the race and looked like he was enjoying his job, taking the dirt at the same time. So he got definitely in only his 9th race, got another education there. I was very impressed with him. He reeled him in. He might have waited a little bit once he got past him, which was a little bit of a worry. But other than that, he's a classy little animal.
Yeah, he certainly is, and finding his calling in life, it would seem, on the dirt. Let's not forget he beat Glenn Shiel, who was a subsequent Group 1 sprinter at Newcastle back in the June of 2020. Where do you think this sets him up trip-wise, Laura? We surmised as to whether they were going to step up to a mile or back to 6 furlongs. They'd have to do one or the other if they're going to stick to dirt on Super Saturday. There is the option of the turf and the Ras Al Khor, but it seems as though he's a good...
No.
to go, so there's probably one or two excuses, but yeah, Mahib quite conceivably could be the pick of them. He did finish second ahead behind Rebels Romance in the Guineas try. Yeah, but there is Mubaka, a comfortable enough winner of this downtown Dubai Cup in the end. We'll take the inside shot. Desert Safari has shown a bit of speed, perhaps cheap speed, and would eventually fade out of things. Just looking for anything of interest further wide, but not really. Highland Dress was always out the back on his dirt debut. Bocharts, we said, never really threatened. Desert Doctors plugged on. Imperial Empire was the one that's disappointed me a bit. I suppose the danger is he is going to go backwards slightly from that Maktoum Challenge run. He just could. I expected him to be closer to the pace today, and he wasn't for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, I just think he was a flat horse after a hard race.
Yeah.
They probably, you know, all respect to the connections, perhaps maybe should have read the tea leaves a little bit when it comes to where the other horses were, how the other horses were performing coming out of that race. Because it was a hard race, and a lot of horses just they threw down. As we say back home, they really put in a good fight, and we saw it earlier as well with Eastern World. So, you know, hindsight 2020. Hopefully he comes out and shows what he really is. I think he does have a lot of quality to him, and that he'll eventually be a. You know, we have plenty of time before Super Saturday if they wanted to rest him until then, and it'd be feasible to run him in the Burj Nahar and see what they've got there.
It's just this. We know this place. The temptation to run again fairly quickly is always there. Maybe a handicap over a mile, if there is such an option, in a few weeks' time will be more suitable for Imperial Empire, but didn't really happen for him at the 7th furlong trip today. Very much happened though for Mubaka, and the trophy presentation for this downtown Dubai Cup, sponsored by Emaar, is about to take place. Doug Watson, who had a quiet couple of weeks really leading up to the carnival, but he'd be quite happy to have sort of refound his mojo in recent weeks.
Yeah.
That's what you want to see the best stables do. That's his 3rd carnival winner already of the season.
His lulls don't last too long.
No.
You know, but he's too smart of a trainer to let them last too long. He figures out what's going on and fixes it. Sometimes it's simply his horse is running out of handicap.
Yep.
And other times it's something or another that's just kind of slowing the yard down. And he doesn't, like he's told me once, he just does his job, does it the same every day, and makes sure that he's not getting off course, and just stays the course with everything.
Can you imagine these sort of trainers? They have 2 distinct groups. They sort of have a group of horses that are going to be ready for the start, and then from January options. So maybe that's being the case with Doug Watson, but he is in very good form at the moment, I imagine, in high spirits as well. Talking to Laura now.
I'm with Doug Watson, who's delighted his patience has paid off with Mubaka. You targeted this race, you pulled it off. Well done.
Thank you. I thought Dane gave him a really, really good ride there. You know, took his time on him. A bunch of horses went around him. He didn't panic and had the horse underneath of him, and very nice win for him.
And now you've got a little bit of pondering to do with the Shadwell team. Do you go up in trips? Do you go down in trips? It's a difficult one.
Yeah, we'll talk to Dane afterward, and he kind of thought he was thinking up walking back in, but let's just see how he comes out of it, and you know, we'll see what's coming up ahead for him and go that way.
He's had a lovely, steady career with you so far. You've taken things very slowly with him.
We got him late last year, and then we ran him on the last day, and same trip, 7 furlongs, and he ran a great race. I think he carried 62, and Bocart at the time had, I don't know, we were giving him like 5 kilos, and he only got beat a couple lengths, and so we knew we had something pretty nice. And then, you know, pointed to the race we went to the first time, and this one looked like it suited him right after that. Needs a little time in between racing, and but really solid horse.
You got a good chance in the last 3 of them. Mutafaret probably the first string?
Yeah, I would say so. I'm hoping. I watched that first race, and everybody came to the outside, and he's drawn wide. You know, he's drawn the stands rail, and you know, he's going to have to find his way around there. But you know, I trust Dane can do it. And the other 2 are no mugs. They were both coming off of, I want to say 10-month layoffs, and he was coming off a layoff. Motafawet was coming off a layoff from World Cup night. So hopefully they all improve and improve throughout the carnival.
It's been a good night, whatever happens. Well done.
Thank you, Laura.
Yeah, many congratulations to Doug Watson following the victory of Mubaka, who is the latest winner of but the Dubai Racing Club's faces at the races. He collects 500 dirhams. I wonder if these people know they have to go to the concourse to win, or they're just happy to be on TV.
Yeah, I mean, good for them, though. I mean, either way, they're living their best lives, and I'm happy for their happy souls at this point.
The poster angle has come to the fore again, though. You just need to bring a poster. Spelling is irrelevant
optional.
at times, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, congratulations to that chap as long as he collects his 500 dirhams. The Zabeel Mile is worth significantly more, and here are some stats behind some recent winners.
Third set at the 200 metres mark, taking the lead. Metropolitan Man is giving chase, but third set broke clear. He's 2 lengths in front. There's one big 7 contestant cheering loudly as third set comes away and wins. The Gia and Wise Dennis. The Gia on the inside battling back. Wise Dennis lunged again. I think Dennis in a photo. Muse just in front from Royal Ridge. Trade Storm's now out in the clear. 100 left to run. Muse there in front. Trade Storm gets the gap. Spencer sets up in the eyes and he wins cheekily again. Safety check, reels in Earnshaw. Darwin out wide. Dark Emerald went back to the rail, but safety check in front with 100 metres left to go. He's 3/4 clear. He's clinging on, and safety check wins the Zabeel Mile.
Devella's gone to a narrow lead. Here's First Contact coming hard on the outside. First Contact's after Devell. Ectoron kicking over on the inside. Flying Dubai is late. They drive down the line. Dubai going to First Contact. Dubai, big performance.
Championship hit the front. Here's Noah from Goa on the outside. Simric coming through in the centre, but Championship stolen a break. It's all over. 100 metres left to go. They won't be catching him. Championship in front, and Championship too good. Archipenko got to the front of the 200. Potentiano into the clear. Kalahari Gold looking for a split, but Archipenko broke away. Kalahari Gold goes to the inside. It's too late. Archipenko. Kapil darted through the gap. Kapil raced up to Lord Admiral, took the lead. Great Rhythms on the outside, but it's over. Kapil is sprinting away. Kapil tearing away from Lord Admiral and Great Rhythm, and that's the way they finish. 200 to go, and Riley's keeping faith, bounded past Maria. Banyanolda's beginning to run on. It'll be too late. Riley's at broken clear. Ahmed's gone for home, and Riley's keeping faith as the Zabeel Mile won.
It's got a really good history, as you saw there. Zabeel Mile dates back to 2007. Quite surprising, really, that Sabin Straw's only won it twice. Got to go right back to the victory of Do It All in 2012 for the most recent of those victories, but that's probably about to change because he does have the hot favourite Real World coming up. Sponsored by Emar Beachfront, our Zabeel Mile, which is a Group 2 over the 1,600 metres, and there's 180,000 in the prize fund, 108 of which goes to the winner. Number 1 is Real World, the mount of Danny Tadhope, who doesn't ride very often for Saeed, but he's a world-class jockey, as we know. Ajwad, pace angle in here, Bernardo Pinheiro rides him, and we have Al Farik for Antonio Frezu. He's no mug, could go well, bless him. Goes for David Simcock, Callum Shepherd. We have Hakeem, King David, Male Shot. If they go really fast, he could be a bit of a danger from the back of the field. Moxrub's been in great form since joining Owen Sharpie. Nordic Lights actually ran quite well last time before fading. We have One Ruler, potentially bounced back. A few excuses for his run last time. Path of Thunder, good winner over course and distance last time out. Telemac, very expensive purchase at the Racing in Dubai sale. And Valorum, another one who came through the sale. He is a winner here, back when he was trained by Godolphin.
So a lot of people will be here tonight to see Real World, principally, bidding to make it 5 from 5 on turf. Really progressive horse right throughout the summer. How much do you think the dirt runs helped him here last year? I mean, he wasn't disgraced on the surface, but they've likely made a man of him going back to the UK subsequently.
I mean, that's a valid argument. I feel like it probably, you know, fit him up at least, made him a sharper horse. Still not convinced he can handle it.
Right.
He'll probably wind up in the World Cup anyway. That's fine. They do what they want. But and he is a proper horse now. I feel like what he has done is strung together a progression through the tiers of racing.
Yeah.
I wasn't truly impressed by. I mean, I thought he was a very good horse, but I wasn't truly impressed by him until Longchamp, when he navigated dodgy ground.
Yeah.
He really dug in, and he held off a bona fide Group 1 soft ground horse in the Revenant, who obviously needed the race, but still, he held him off. To me, he's a Group 2 plus horse right now that's teetering on the edge of Group 1, and I'm looking forward to seeing whether or not he can do it. Obviously, today it's a Group 2. It's not going to tell us much, and it's a...
Well, you say that. He's conceding 2 kilos. If one ruler pitches up and runs a very good second, and they're 3 or 4 lengths clear of the thirds,
yeah,
we might be assessing it a bit differently.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for one ruler to pop.
Oh, there is that, yes.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for one. I do think that one day he's gonna show us, kind of with Siskani showed us earlier, where he's gonna be like, oh, there it is. That's what they've been waiting for. Either that or he's in the RDS sale next year. One of the two.
Siskani or Worko type that we could expect from one ruler today. But Charlie Appleby did state after his latest run, where he was 6th behind Path of Thunder, that because of the wet weather earlier in the week, that he and Labarossa had just missed a vital blowout on the turf, which may just have left them half a gallop short going into the race. So we'll see if he does improve for that run. Here is Real World coming out first, as he often does. Sports the hood in the parade ring, so he's always clearly been a tricky enough horse. He's not quite as big as I remember him. He's strong.
He's got a massive shoulder on him.
Yeah, big, powerful front to him, and see why he's taken a while to physically mature and come to himself. He's still an entire, only 5 years old, only 9 starts into his career. He will now, of course, be ridden by Danny Tudhope today for the first time. And this is a good opportunity for him to kick off his season with Saeed bin Suroor, suggesting they may be tempted by going the Saudi Cup route. I suppose he's proven on dirt already. Here he is, and his form is solid, isn't it? That Daniel Wildenstein run, finishing ahead of the Revenant. The Revenant would go on and finish 4th behind one of the best milers around in Baid. So it all marks Real World down as being that Group 2, almost Group 1 horse.
Yeah, he's a 2+, I'll call him. It'd be interesting to see whether or not he goes to Saudi. I feel like it actually, because of that treated dirt there, that runs a lot more, I say it doesn't run like grass, it runs friendlier to grass horses, I'll say. He's probably, it's not a reach. I feel like running in the World Cup here is probably a reach. 10 furlongs again around sandy or dirt. But going there, I think he could actually make some noise.
We'll see how this race sets him up. It's strange, I suppose, if he had gone Maktoum Challenge 2 weeks ago, it would have been a much harder race than what this is. So in some respects, a good opportunity, a good starting point. This is the Dubai Racing Club pacemaker, Ajwad. I'm sure they'd love him in every group race to ensure a gallop, and I'm sure
I love
the
Ajwad.
classier types.
Tiny little animal, runs hard every time. Every once in a while he pops up and shocks us with an on-the-board finish where we're like, oh, there's the old Ajwad.
Will it?
Not today. Not, but some horses don't like to breeze, some trainers don't like to breeze them. So he's just going to race them instead.
This is only his 2nd start of the season. He made his reappearance behind Naval Crown just last week and out again quickly. This is Al Farik, who finished 5th behind Path of Thunder last time, having previously won at Abu Dhabi. He's in form and probably still progressing, actually, this horse.
Yeah, I liked his run last time. He didn't finish as close as I would prefer, but he didn't have the best trip either. His 2 races before that, the victory here at the end of the season over this course and distance was quite smart. And then he came back in the 7 furlong race at Abu Dhabi, where he was decidedly short. So I feel like he's shaping up in this race as one of the main threats to possibly overturn, if something goes awry with the favorite.
Yeah, bless him. He'll be having his 2nd start of the carnival. They're just biding his time until they can get him into a mile handicap later on He was well behind Desert Fire on his reappearance, and doesn't really set to go well in this. That was the Al Rashidir last time. He's probably one of the lower rated horses in here off 99. Hard to see a scenario in which he pops up.
The only thing I can see is that his best run here last year was over this course and distance in the Zabeel Mile, where he lost by less than 2 lengths. I think he was 6th, but still lost by like 3/4 or so. But that's off memory. You can check in the book. But you know, I thought he did well there. But yeah, I don't see much of a chance for him today.
This is Hakeem, another one vanquished by Path of Thunder last time out. Still has a bit of potential, I suppose, for the yard. That was his first start since leaving Ali Rashid Al Rahi. He is an 8-year-old to counteract that, though, and probably up against, well, not probably, is up against it in this. This is King David, who he spoke to Niels Peterson about earlier. He's not far off the best in Scandinavia, Square de Lune principally, but again, looks like he's going to be up against it here. King David.
He looks all right. I think he's Master Bloom really hasn't shaped well here, obviously, and that's a good line on him. Square de Lune, I kind of know where he sits. He's a proper, probably Group 2 horse on UK standards, and he was 2 3/4 behind him, 2 3/4 behind him. So, yeah, not much of a chance here. He's getting old, long in the tooth as well. So, you know, it's a sporting gesture to have him here.
Yeah, Mile Shot, similar comments applying to him as well. He ran on to finish 7th behind Path of Thunder last time, but again, he's not getting any younger age date. He's having his 46th start today. I'd imagine he might pass 1 or 2 in the straight, but that's not going to be good enough to make him of too much interest here. There he is. He just feels better around the tighter Abu Dhabi track as well.
He does, where he can sort of like use that, I call it like almost centrifugal force to like turn himself over a bit and kick on in that short stretch, and against weaker horses. He's running against not the big boys, but the bigger boys today.
Yeah, hard to see him winning.
Hakeem looks great. He's 8 years old and he looks solid.
Let's head into the parade ring quickly and join Laura.
I'm very honoured to be joined by His Highness Sheikh Rashid Al Muka Al Maktoum, of course, the chairman of Dubai Racing Club. And many thanks for talking to us. And you must be very pleased. So far, this carnival's been excellent, very international.
Yeah, very pleased with the carnival so far. International horses coming from all around the world to come and participate in the race here. Things are going very well.
And I feel that since you've been involved with Dubai Racing Club, you've really tried to link with the community and welcome people back to MEYDAN Racecourse.
Yes, that's the main thing. To get first of all, to get more people involved and to come over and have a great experience here at MEYDAN. And the plan is to keep changing to the best and to the better, as we always say. So, as I said, the team I'm working with is a fantastic team. They're doing a great job, and yeah, it's an honor to be here, to be honest.
And of course, you've had so much success throughout the years with your own horses as well. So your love of horses goes back a long, long way.
Yeah, I do love horses. Thanks to His Highness Sheikh Mohammed, he got me involved in this industry, and things are going very well, especially in England. And the season will start soon there, and yeah, looking forward to it.
Well, many thanks for talking to us, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, great to hear from Sheikh Rashid, who has made giant steps with the Dubai Racing Club, it feels, in such a short period of time since he's taken over. This is One Ruler making his way out in the red cap of Godolphin. There is still time for this horse to fulfil early potential, I suppose, is the best way of describing it. It was the second string going into the Derby, where he wasn't disgraced behind the Dayar, of course, running the Guineas as well, and even his third to B8 in a listed race at Newmarket in July isn't the worst thing. He's been gelded. You kind of felt it was a bit flat, though, behind Path of Thunder, wasn't it, when only 6th?
It was, but
Yeah, it was Path of Thunder.
I'm not really. I don't think One Ruler is worth, you shouldn't brush him off just yet.
No.
I love that he's getting a nice warm-up in right now. To me, that says maybe they want him a little more forward than he was.
Yeah, that's another thing to point out about the race. He was just a little bit too far back, wasn't
it wouldn't be shocked at all if he runs a big race. And let me see, what is the market telling us right now? He's probably sitting at a fairly healthy. Real World's getting hammered to the ground at 4 to 6 right now.
He was 1 to 2, so he's going the other way.
Yeah, but still, One Ruler's third choice at 13 to 2, which isn't bad. it seems that the three big Godolphin guns in this race are taking all of the taking all of the money. But Path of Thunder we haven't talked about nearly enough.
No, he could just be improved, much improved.
He loves this rock hard ground, and he got it at Newmarket, and he looked awesome beating Tenbury Wells, who didn't amount to much here when he moved here.
No.
But still, they both ran big races. And he was visually very impressive, which means he just turns over really nicely on good to firm ground. And he did that again last time. The race kind of unfolded in an awkward way with Nordic Light going out and creating just an uneven pace scenario. But when it folded into him, he took advantage of it, and he was very impressive. He's really done nothing wrong, and William chooses him this time. Whether it's a race late that he chooses him, we don't know. He's done that before.
Yeah. He was the third string, wasn't he, that day? With James Doyle on one, on Labarossa and William Björk on one route.
I think that if you're looking at this, you're seeing 9-2 versus 13-2. From a value standpoint, you go with one ruler because I have faith that he will come back at one point, because there was a time in his early career where he was just eye-catching beyond belief, and I thought that he was a serious Guineas horse.
Yeah. He wasn't far off proving that point, really, was he, at the end of the day?
So if you look at that and just say, hey, the favourite, who looks amazing right now.
He does, doesn't he? He looks much better now that he's warmed up and down at the start than he did just walking around there.
Looks like somebody's resaddling there.
Number 2, Ajwad.
Oh, Ajwad, yeah. Ajwad is such a go-getter. He's already taking off the saddle to finish the race.
This should be running at a good pace, though. Ajwad aside, you've got Nordic Lights, who's going to press forward. Path of Thunder was keen out the stalls and soon up there last time as well. So I think we're going to get hopefully genuine, as long as the pacemakers aren't ignored and it's just the third horse that sits comfortable and
Real World
kicks.
has pace. Like he's not going to let them amble along if they decide to try to slow it down. If Bernardo tries to put on the brakes, he's not going to have it.
No.
So I feel like it is a new rider, though.
Yeah.
Do you have an angle there where he doesn't know the horse?
I mean, Marco Gianni popped on him and won 3, and then... Yeah. I don't see it as a massive issue. I mean, he can be tricky. He's obviously got the cheek pieces on, he's had the hood on, but I see that as a minor inconvenience that Frankie's not been able to ride him and that they've had to switch jockeys, but Danny Tudhope shouldn't have... too many problems. At the end of the day, if you can steer a gap on Lord Glitters, he can probably ride anything, so that's fair enough.
No love for Telemac right now, who was the sail topper, wasn't he? Was he 400 or something?
He went for an absolute fortune, Telemac. He cost 825. I think it's the second highest ever at a racing in Dubai sale after Stratton Street, and the less said about that, the better.
Wow.
His dam's a half-sister to Zenyatta.
Yeah, he's bred up and down for the dirt, going probably 9 to 10 furlongs. So why not start him at 8 furlongs on the grass?
It's probably just that they probably thought we'll give him a more gentle introduction, running on what he's used to. I imagine is where they're going with him. I suspect it's very much a starting point.
Yeah, it's just
they don't think they're going to win. Put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, and they're going to try to pick up a piece of this, win some of their money back. And
yeah, exactly.
As the Real World gone forward, he's needed a hood for stalls entry as well, so we're trying to get this favourite beaten, Laura?
Yeah, desperate to get him beaten.
Yeah.
I don't know why. We all want to see a good horse win.
Well, this could be Saeed's next Ben Battle or Thunder Snow.
He has to be, really, yeah. And I do think he'll win. I think he'll be very tuned up for today. I just tentatively went with Path of Thunder just to be a bit controversial.
Yeah, Mikey?
I mean, I think he'll win, but a nice big price for each way would be Hakeem. It's 80 to 1.
Hakeem for Doug Watson. We didn't mention too much about Mokhtarab. He was, of course, second to Path of Thunder for Erwin Sharpie, and he was the National Day Cup winner. So he'd be in with a chance, just 1.5 kilos worse off now with Path of Thunder in this Group 2 contest. The feature then on tonight's card. Let's head up to Alistair for the call.
Nordic Lights, El Farik, Hakeem next. Nordic Lights, the last one. The Group 2 Zabil Mile, 1,600 metres. All in. Gates crash open. And they're racing away. Untidy start. Telemac didn't get away too well. Bless him. Also sluggish into stride. Ajwad ridden at vigorously to get to the early lead. At the outside, Path of Thunder is second. Real World already nicely teed up against the rail, just 2.5 lengths from the leader. Then comes One Ruler in the red cap, racing away in fourth. Then we go 2 lengths away to Hakeem, who's at the outside of King David, who took a chance to sneak a bit closer. Valorum's in the maroon colours at their outside. Al-Farik, the grey, against the rails just behind midfield. Moqtareb is next to that one. Then comes Bless Him, the yellow and black colours, about 8 or 9 lengths adrift. They're going a good pace here, just over a length away to Nordic Lights. Then comes Mail Shot, who finds itself towards the back of the field with Telemac as they move their way through the 800 metres mark, and it's Ajwad in the lead and got it by about a length. Path of Thunder second. Real World well placed at the rail third, about 2 lengths from the leader. Then comes Al-Farik, who races next with One Ruler. They followed further back by Valorum at the outside of King David. Hakeem is next best. Then comes Bless Him. Moqtareb races about 8 lengths off the leader at the top of the straight. They got 400 metres left to go. Ajwad brought them in. Real World got a beautiful run towards the inside. Path of Thunder got rolling early. Then comes One Ruler in the red cap. They followed further back by Valorum, and King David is next. But here's Real World being produced, let loose, 1.5 lengths in front. Path of Thunder, One Ruler. Then towards the outside we find Al-Farik, but it's Real World with an exclamation mark on top in the Zabeel Mile. Second goes to Al-Farik, third to One Ruler. Then came Path of Thunder. They're rid of Moqtareb, Bless Him next best, King David and Ajwad. Then came Valorum, Telemac, Nordic Lights. Then came Hakeem and Mail Shot.
Everything and more I think we expected from Real World, who has effortlessly made it 5 from 5 in the on turf in landing the Group 2 Zabeel Mile. Got a lovely run through on the rail, Mikey. The gaps opened up perfectly, but the way he quick and clear was impressive nonetheless.
Yeah, it was just much the best there. The inside path was perfect for him. He was able to use the pace that he has to put himself in a position. And multi-surface form running the big race.
So multi-surface form, 95 was the last mark he ran off on dirt, and he was beaten by Remorse and a handicap. So, I mean, the handicap has got him rated both on both surfaces, but would the panel in Saudi Arabia consider that?
They won't care. They had loads of turf horses in the race last year. They'll just take the 118, surely.
Yeah, they will do, yeah.
And Saeed took Ben Battle there with one dirt race, and obviously it was a Group 2 win. It was very impressive, but just one piece of form over it. And,
do you think this horse is better equipped than Ben Battle?
No, not at all. I think he's a length or two slower than Ben Battle. But when Ben Battle was at his best, there were many levels of Ben Battle that were still better than most horses. But this horse, I think, is still developing. And what is really impressive about him to me is that he's an imposing mover. He just really just hits the ground like he's mad at it. Yeah. And I'm more and more impressed with him. He's earned my affection.
I suppose, Laura, if he's going to be a very good horse, he should probably have been winning those dirt races here last year. I know he's matured a lot physically and probably mentally as well, but should still have been winning them, really, should he?
I just remember labelling him as tricky last season.
Yeah.
I thought he was really tricky. He didn't look like the easiest horse to win with. But as you say, and as Saeed has repeatedly said, physically he's just really developed for whatever reason. It just maturity with age, whatever. He is a 5-year-old. He has been brought along fairly gradually. This is only his 10th start this evening. But yeah, it is bizarre, really, the way his career has gone. In that he was beaten by considerably lesser horses on the dirt last year, which in a way makes me think that they'd be nuts to go back to dirt.
Yeah,
but then Saeed's just so good at switching them with surfaces, and it is a more turf horse favouring-ish course in Saudi, isn't it?
Very much so, yeah. I mean, you see horses will... I mean, you saw it yesterday with Making Miracles, winning the feature race there. I mean, they're just... I don't know if it's more like where we're seeing all-weather, there will be more more, more of a accessible course for turf horses. I think it's just that the kickback isn't as bad. They're running more on the top of the ground. They're not sinking into the sand like they are here. It's not as trying of a course, in my opinion, except for the asterisk being last year when they didn't water the track and it became quicksand.
Yeah, they didn't need to. It was horrible last year, the conditions in Saudi, wasn't it? Wet and cold, but it won't be like that this time, I'm sure. And it's just exciting for Saeed that this horse has come along just at the right time, just as Ben Battle, whose career had kind of been lovingly eked out. Can you lovingly eke something out? I don't know. Over the years, and he needs another big horse, and this guy's turned up really from nowhere. Like this, when he went home in April last year and been beaten on 4 times, as we said, no one thought he was going to pop up and start winning Group 2s.
No, he started off in the Royal Hunt Cup, won that by a mile against the Far Rail, which hadn't looked the place to be all week at Royal Ascot, and then, as Mikey said earlier, just progressed gradually through the ranks, winning Group 3s, Group 2s, listed company, and this is another Group 2 to add to his tally under the penalty, tracking the pace by Adrad. I mean, the 3 Godolphin runners, Mikey, are in the spots that they would want to be. One ruler in the Path of Thunder in the white cat, one ruler in the red there, sitting in the 2nd and 4th, Real World just splitting them in 3rd, and I suppose you have to therefore give a bit of credit to Al Farik being the anomaly in coming from further back than the quartet that have finished in the first 4 or 5.
Yeah, it looked like Fraser had to ride a bit for luck, turning for home, and hopefully the seams would open up, and they didn't quite open up when he wanted them to. It obviously didn't cost him the win, and maybe cost him a length or 2, and he came home nicely. I think he proved that the last run wasn't the real him, and that he's probably a proper Group 3 horse at the least.
Yeah. Bless him. David Simcock will be delighted with that horse. He's eventually finished 6th, picked up a check. Should ensure that his mark will not go down enough for him not to get a run in that handicap that looks to be the aim a little bit later on. He's the one finishing in the yellow colours. I think King David's run okay as well. He's probably only finished 7th on that far side, but I suppose once you get out of the first 4 or 5, as we alluded to when previewing the race, there were a lot who basically didn't belong in this race, and they've all finished out with the washing. Al Farik just having to move off the heels of King David. Adjwad's given bold sight, as he often does. He might find a small 6 or 7 furlong race, but I often think he's best going round a bend, so maybe a 7 furlong contest outside of the carnival would give him his best chance of success. But really and truly, this was all about Real World, who's got the cheek pieces on, as indeed did Thunder Snow, and did Ben Battle as well?
Ben Battle sometimes he did, not always.
That's the key.
Magical cheek pieces. No, I'm very impressed with. I love his action. I've always been very impressed with how he, like I said, he really gobbles up the ground nicely.
He's really stretching his neck as well, isn't he?
It seems like he wants to win. And I remember last year, he came in here December. It was a December sighting of Saeed, right? In his 2nd career race.
Yeah.
And
was that when he was beaten by Sanad Libya, perhaps?
Yes, the day, by the great Sanad Libya beat him that day. And he came into the race and we're like, why is this horse running here? And why is Saeed here so early? And the buzz was already there that he was a proper horse. And I think Saeed was I'm going to assume he was quite devastated that he did not perform to his liking in those couple races. He says he's become a better horse, so be it. But if he's going to come to the World Cup here, I think going over that unique dirt course that runs a little bit more friendly to grass racing will be the best way to do it.
He is a handy sort, as we've seen here, ridden prominently, so no reason to imagine that the dirt won't be optional. Hopefully, Saibin Srore's going to...
A $20 million prep.
Yeah, he's usually got a fairly definitive answer as to where he wants to go next with his runners, so hopefully that'll be the case with this one on the back of what was a fairly comfortable victory. I didn't see the winning margins in the end, but it felt like about 3 or 4 lengths in the end, and we've seen quite a few winners come up the rail tonight. I know Star Safari did. I know Siskany came a little bit wide. He'd have won wherever he came up the track, but the best horses have won.
It seems fairly even though. Yeah. You've seen him running well and hitting the ground nicely from all parts of the track this evening, which is nice to see, but that's not a surprise considering the rail's almost out having the track right now.
Yeah, 12 metres at its full today. Real World, Danny Tudhope has only got a couple of rides on today's card, but one of them successful here, and that was... Just trying to find out how many wins he's had here in the UAE. I don't think it'd be too many. Obviously, Lord Glitters stands out amongst them so far.
Looks like...
but this was probably a whole lot more straightforward.
Third win. Third win in his 37th, or I guess he had a couple earlier today, right?
Yeah, I think he won or two.
Overall, third win. He's got 8 thirds, though, oddly enough.
Yeah. Lord
in less
Glitters
than
will
40
be
rides.
Lord Glitters responsible for a couple of those. The trophy presentation then for today's feature, the Zabeel Mile, presented by Emaar, the downtown... presented by Emaar Beachfront, beg your pardon. And Saeed bin Saror, I think, draws back level with Charlie Appleby on the carnival standings on the back of that victory. And it was certainly an impressive win too for Real World. And he'll have plenty of options going forward, as we've alluded to. Saudi Cup chief amongst them. Jebel Hatta. Doesn't feel like a Saeed thing to do to go straight for the Dubai turf. I'm sure he'll have a run in the interim. Yeah. Victory in effortless fashion in the Zabeel Mile, ending the run of Charlie Appleby in this race. He'd won the last 3 renewals, including 5 of the last 7. I think that's Sheikh Juma bin Dalmouk Al Maktoum collecting the trophy. I think. Here's Saeed bin Saror collecting the winning trainer's prize. Saeed bin Saror winning for the 422nd time here.
Is that all?
In the UAE. He always just seems to find one though, doesn't he? There's always always one just lurking. And there's Danny Tudhope collecting his trophy as well. So that's tonight's feature race. Done and dusted, the Zabeel Mile. Going the way of Godolphin as we thought it would. Saeed bin Saror and Danny Tudhope. So we've got one more race to go. The Dubai Sprint. That was a race split in 2 at the declaration stage. Obviously this one, carrying listed status, is the better of the pair of races that we've had so far, featuring some highly rated horses, including Lazuli, Man of Promise in there, Mutafawit as well. Before we delve into, well, we're going to delve into that race now, because once again we can hear from Caitlin Jones, who partners Parseval.
Talk about Parseval first of all then. How do you think he'll handle conditions out there on Friday?
Look, he's in some really good form in Australia. Both horses are, but obviously, you know, it's completely different racing. It's very hard to compare sort of tracks and races from Australia to here. But, you know, like, I'm happy with where they're at. I was really happy with their gallops on Monday leading up to this. So, you know, the rest is up to them on the track. He's raced in front of big grandstands at Flemington, and he's also ran a straight 6. So, you know, there's all confidence going forward into the race that he'll put his best foot forward. And, you know, it's a very strong looking field, to be honest. You know, based on him the way he is and his attitude and everything going forward, I think he's going to run a really good race.
And where does he sit in the race? Is he on the pace, a little bit off it?
At the moment, I'm going to put him midfield at the moment. Just I think they're going to go pretty quick in that race. He generally sits midfield. He'll just come out. It'll be a matter of not pushing, not pulling. It'll be letting him balance and find his rhythm early in the run. And, you know, from the 600, he'll be working into it strongly. And I think over his last furlong, you'll really see him flashing to the line.
Have you watched much racing here? You sound like you've got a pretty good grasp of it.
A little bit, but obviously now, knowing that I was coming, I started to get into it more. I downloaded the ERA app and got more involved with the race courses and looking at things. So, but then obviously they raced here over the weekend, so I did watch the races and looking at times and how, you know, the way they ride and pace set in front. So, you know, you need to sort of have those basics down pat going into it yourself riding.
And tell us a bit about you, because you're based in Morphettville, but you've got a lot of experience, and you also had a little spell in England work riding.
I did, yeah. So I moved to Adelaide in 2015, and I've been there ever since. Had some really wonderful support. Had a little bit of a stunted apprenticeship. Was on and off. I had some injury time and weight issues as well that I had to work on. So it was a long, extended apprenticeship over the years, but I got it done. And it's only over the last 12 months I've actually became a senior rider, and I've been probably very fortunate in the support I've had. It's probably the last 6 months I've really been tied up with Will Clarkin and his team. He has Todd Pannell there, as the main rider in Adelaide. He does a great job, Todd. Also, he's a heavyweight jockey, so they've had some wonderful successes together, and most stables in Morphettville sort of have their base stable rider, so you know, I'm working my way through a few at the moment and have a nice little routine going there, and I still maintain great support, so it's been a good year for me as far as a transition from apprenticeship to senior, because it is pretty tough. So but then obviously with this opportunity for Will and his team to give me this was certainly can be life-changing potentially, and you know what better than going across the world to ride racehorses. It's really a dream come true, to be honest.
Have you had a look in the jockey's room yet?
I haven't. I'm actually getting taken over there today to have a look at the weigh room and, you know, get familiar with my surroundings. So I'm actually really excited to see. It's pretty similar to home, so as in, you know, the way they do things, which is fantastic, that it keeps me nice and comfortable. But, yeah, mind on the job now, and I'm, you know, getting really excited for Friday.
Well, I'm sure Sabin Roar is absolutely delighted. That was a very good performance from a very good horse.
He's an improving horse. After when he won at Royal Ascot, then York, then also before that in Newbury, then we take him to France. The ARC meeting, he won Group 2, bring him back here, give him time. As a horse, this is a first race for him, but he's the bumper horse all the time, and we start with him a mile this time, just to make him ready for the races coming.
And where are the races coming? You're going to go to Saudi for the turf or the dirt?
Well, we keep the options open. I mean, he won in the turf, and his form is really good. But also, the tribute will suit him as a 9 furlongs in Saudi. Then also there is races for him here in Dubai, you know, Super Saturday. But we'll talk to the Sheikh Mohammed. We'll make a decision. Then also for the World Cup meeting night, we will see which one going to be as an, you know, we'll see which one going to be a Bay World Cup or the race for him in the turf.
You've trained so many very good horses. How good do you think this one is? Is he a Group 1 winner in waiting?
As early of when he was 3 years old, he wasn't ready physically. Even last year when he came to Dubai, we ran him here, he's still weak. But then we take him back to Newmarket with time since when he starts running there, and exactly in June, Royal Ascot, you can see he changed. And mentally he was sweating actually before the races, and he wasn't relaxed. But then he improved him after that. After when we take him to France, I see him good, and we use hood for him before the race, keep him calm. That's also helped him. Even tonight he was relaxed. That's a good sign from him from last 2 races.
Well, it's really interesting to see where he goes next. Many thanks and well done.
Thank you.
So the dust shall settle and we'll see where Real World heads to next after that impressive victory in the Zabeel Mile. Dirt or turf, the options, as you'd imagine, with the World Cup potentially on the line at the end of March. Our last race is not too far away from us, though, so we can head into the parade ring and find out more details shortly. The Dubai Sprint, certainly one of the more competitive races on today's card, and let's find out more about it now from Laura.
A rattlingly good sprint to close things out this evening. This is going to be fast and furious. So we're back over the 1,200 metres, over which we started with Division 1 of this, and we've got another very international lineup for our listed Dubai Sprint, which is worth $100,000. And 60,000 of those go to the winner, which could well be number 1, Julie, dual Group 3 winner in the UK. We have line of departure, got some very good form for Roger Varian now with Fauzi Nas. Motafawet, another one who could well win this, a little bit slowly away last time. Matarafa, winner over 1,000 metres a couple of weeks ago. We have Summergand, he's a bit of a rock star as well. Cardem, Man of Promise, winner of this race last year, returns off quite a break since World Cup night. Wardy, Buffer Zone's been running really well, won his last 2 races in Bahrain by quite a long way. We have Edstil, and another one with a chance. It's very open this, and a Ralston Scar lines up for Pat Cosgrave and Simon Crisford.
Hard to rule out too many of the 14 then that go to post for this race, and we can go through them, starting with Lazuli, who was 3rd here last year, was victorious a couple of times once in the UK afterwards. he's not really pushed on as a sprinter for me. He's a horse that shapes as though he's got plenty of ability and not always delivered.
Yeah, I mean, his run at Saratoga was an ambitious spot because that race, even though it comes up as a grade 3, we've gone over this ad nauseum before, but pay no attention to the grades in American turf sprints because if it has any money in it, then you're getting basically your grade 1 level horses in those races. So the grade 3, I think it's the Troy, I think is the name of the race, I forget the name, but it's one of the better turf sprints all year round, and he ran into some really tough horses. Fast Boat would have been in the top 2 or 3 in the Breeders' Cup turf sprint if he didn't get injured in the race itself, and he won that day. And Lazuli, the many iterations, to me, he just didn't break well that day, and he was one of the better turf sprints all year round, and he ran into some really tough horses. Fast Boat would have been in the top 2 or 3 in the Breeders' Cup turf sprint if he didn't get injured in the race itself, and he won that day. And Lazuli, the many iterations, to me, he just didn't break well that day, and he was but he has shown a genuine turn of foot and finish against grade 1 or Group 1 sprinters. So I mean, and he has that in his favor.
This is Mutarafa, who beat Royal Crusade last time, making it 2 wins from his last 2 starts, stretching over the summer break. He's a horse that he's clearly still improving. Messiah Brown O'Hare, he does that with his sprinters. Stall 1, I would have said it was a negative coming into tonight, but after what we saw in the first race, it's not. I mean, he won last time from the far outside, so it's not like it's a big stretch. They warned us before the last race, the yard did, that he's a bigger, badder version of himself this year, and he has every right to be that way. He's a lightly raced 6-year-old. He makes his 15th start. He's won 5 out of 14. I feel like and I mentioned this before with a lot of horses, he should be in the mix. He is top 4 in this race. Yeah, certainly is. This is Summergans, who is an 8-year-old. No great record here in the UAE. A couple of respectable runs in 2020, I suppose, to be fair to him. He did thrive back in the UK early in 2021. I just feel as though he might be ticking over, a bit of sunshine on his back, and then he'll head back to the UK. A fresh horse for sort of March, April, where there are a couple of options at Newmarket and York as well, where he could go. This is Man of Promise, who showed it well for a long way in the Al Quoz. He was a winner on his reappearance last year, and probably one with more scope to improve after just 6 starts. Yeah, he's only started 6 times. His win here last year in this race, wasn't it? He was incredibly impressive, I thought. I thought that kind of and it was over final song. He's just a solid horse with the world ahead of him, and I tipped him in this race solely on the fact that he shapes like a horse that Charlie's going to have as a much better version of himself here in his 5-year-old season as opposed to 4. This is Buffer Zone, who's been winning and winning well in Bahrain. His last couple of runs his victories have come by a combined distance of 8.5 lengths. He used to be trained by J Lyons, where he was a high-end handicapper / group horse, so perfectly capable of fitting in at this level. It does strike as being a much tougher race than the ones he's been winning, but the fact that Fauzi Nas has decided that he's done all he can in Bahrain, brought him over here, suggests that he's in with some sort of chance. This is Edge Tilab, who Charlie Fellows was quite keen on last night, and he looks nicely on his toes in the parade ring here. Yeah, nice big strong type. Looks like he's feeling his oats right now. He's taking the boys on a walk as well. He is a bit there. One nearly ended up in the flower bed. He's doing his best dressage impressions as well. I mean, he looks good. He's healthy. He's gonna be quite tough. XTR behind him. Yeah, ATR, it's a mild step in the right direction last time.
I love his chances today. If Man of Promise wasn't in the race, XTR would be my pick on value. He's like 22 to 1 right now. B, he's won 2 of the last 3 seasons. He's won his second race out, and both of those were over this course and distance. He had every excuse last year with some minor setbacks that kept plaguing his season, and to me, he looks like $1 million right now.
We saw King of Stars go down to the start. He's likely to be one that presses on with things from stall 3, 1,200 metres. A slight worry. It's a fairly easy 6 furlongs, though. So he might get away with it. Parsifal, we've heard from, another consistent Australian horse. No win since 2019, though, which is a bit of a concern. And Ralston Scar, I thought, was much better than the bare result on his reappearance behind Mutarafa. He basically blew the start. He was then drawn badly. He was heavily backed on that occasion. I think it's too soon to write him off. Quite whether he's got the potential of some of those near the top, though. That's
he's got to come back to his best form here. I'm not going to say that it's far off. I mean, he went back to the UK and went on a winning streak. It's not like it's against far lesser, in my opinion. So, yeah, to me, he's a bit up against it. It looks like Charlie Fellows has taken the lead on his charge to make sure Edge to Lab gets out there safely.
Yeah, I think he's just about to. We can now cross to Laura in the parade. I think she's talking to Mick Appleby, maybe.
Well, anyone who follows Mick Appleby on Twitter has had a really interesting time of things, because you've loved being here. We've had so many updates about King of Stars. Have you enjoyed your stay?
Yes, it's been very good.
And how's he doing? Because he ran a fine race, I thought, in 5th a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, he did. Probably just ended up going a bit too hard early on, with one taking him on. But no, he came out of that race really well. He's in absolute great form.
That was always the plan, not to so much use that as a prep, because he's probably better over 5, but to help that to bring on his fitness?
Yes, exactly. I mean, yeah, he's definitely better at the 5 furlong. Obviously, there's only 2 5 furlong races, so we thought we'll try him over the 6 here today and just see how he goes.
And then after this, you've got the option of going to the Blue Point, which would be a step up in grade, but over his best trip?
Yes, I mean, obviously it's optimum trip, so we'll probably have a stab at that. But hopefully it comes back safe and sound today.
Oh, we all hope for that. Really good to speak to you, and best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All the best to Mick Appleby, King of Stars, who ran a brave race on his reappearance to eventually finish 5th behind Mutarafa in the end. Another bold show, firmly expected, I think, today from this one. Hard to gauge what's going to happen pace-wise, draw-wise. I thought this looked a fairly level playing field coming into the race, spread across the track.
I just think it's going to unfold similar to what the first race did, where the horses, I think the quicker horses are probably more toward the inside, especially, namely King of Stars, and he's going to spearhead them leaning into the center of the course.
I think those drawn higher are going to be keener to move off the rail, aren't they? I think after what we saw.
Might have a bit of an arrowhead coming down.
Yeah, I think that's the way it's going to be. This is Motafawit in shot, and we can see his run behind. This is the Alcoz. So he finished 3rd, 5th, I beg your pardon, behind Extravagant Kid. Man of Promise was firm up against this rail, and Man of Promise showed amazing speed. He was probably only about the 3rd choice for Charlie Appleby on this occasion. He's not run since, so they've obviously felt that he's going to be a Dubai horse. Would they even try him on dirt at some point?
I think they might as well give it a go at some point, but it's just, if he's going to be a Dubai horse, you have limited options, especially if you're running at this level and above. He's bred for it. He's an into mischief out of a Speightstown mare, which just says speed on speed. There's not much of him, though. It's not like he's carrying. It's not like he looks like he doesn't look like your typical into mischief. Let's just say that, who usually have a lot of substance, a lot of hind end to them, and they just look like monsters usually, in my opinion. And that's why he's one of the best stallions out there right now. But this guy, I was very impressed with him last season. I was very impressed with his run in the Alcoz, and the fact that they even ran him there, to me, was not a sporting gesture. It was a gesture that said that Charlie probably believed that he belonged in the race. Or he was just going to wait for the draw and see whether or not he's going to run him.
For 5-6 of the race, he shaped up pretty well. This is Mutarafa, who beat Royal Crusade on his most recent start. He had Motafawit and King of Stars behind. I'm keen to follow the path of Motafawit. You can see him there. He's last in that smaller in the group on the left, who finished last.
How far would you say when this roll started? How far back was Motofawit from Mutarafa? Say 3-4 lengths.
Yeah, and he makes up a good chunk of it. But that is a concern going forward, that Motofawit might just do the same again.
And both of them. I mean, Antonio came out of this race and said he doesn't even like 5 furlongs. Like that the winner is going to move forward over 6. So it's both of those horses are going to relish the step up and trip, and we definitely should always point out it is a different world going from 5 furlongs to 6 furlongs in the grass, especially here, because it's so quick, usually.
Mutarafa was a winner over 6 on his penultimate start, so he'll be equally at home over the distance. And you can see what you were saying about him looking at a bigger, stronger model. All these sprinters are well muscled up and just balls of speed. As
blew out. I saw him blow out 2.5 furlongs yesterday, and came down the lane and just flew home over the dirt, which obviously doesn't give you a gauge for the grass, but just gives you a gauge on fitness. And he came back without really blowing. It wasn't much of a blowout at all, really, for him. But he just looked great afterwards, and I was just very impressed with what he's done so far. Coming back in 2 weeks is the only worry with him. But a lot of these horses are coming out of that exact same race, and from here, this race should make a lot of them fit enough to move on to whether or not they want to wait out for Super Saturday, they want to go to the MEYDAN Sprint, which comes up in 2 weeks, I think.
Blue Point Sprint.
The Blue Point Sprint, yes.
Yeah, what it's known
We
as.
finally named a race after a horse that deserves it.
And over the right trip.
Yeah, over the right trip.
Course and distance.
Yeah. It's a shame we don't get more of those. I mentioned earlier this week, we should name at least one of these staying turf events after Vizierabad. He deserves a race. Obviously, Ronaldo the Wizard deserves one of the 6 furlong races.
I'd go more with the local horses that they should be named after.
Well, horse won 3 in a row.
I know, but
3 Gold Cups in a row, and he was based here all 3 seasons.
True enough, he was throughout the carnival, but I'd be keener on the local horses getting a race named after them. It's like as Parsival's having the saddle adjusted down at the start. I mean, they'll obviously be boosted by the way he's a bolter ran earlier on, but
of course
this is a tougher race, isn't it?
It is a tougher race, but this horse seems to be coming in decent form. They come fit every time. I've noticed, at least the last, if Fatna has any gauge on it, they usually fire their best shots early.
Yeah. They will have, as you say, they are fit. They ran reasonably recently back in Australia. This one on Boxing Day, 26th of December, where he finished 3rd in a listed contest at Caulfield. Similar sort of level, really, to what He's a Bolter had been running, and he was very competitive earlier on.
We didn't mention much of Kadam.
No, I was just about to say Kadam. He came here as one of the leading fancies for the Al Quoz last year, didn't he?
Yeah, and he stunk it up that day. It was a bad run for him, but he looked amazing training all that week. He was a little bit keen, but he was just, he was pulling the bridle enough where you like to see it. He came alive over the summer and fall, and was recently gelded. This is his first race off the gelding, and maybe he just needed an equipment change.
Maybe, yeah. He wouldn't be the first horse to sort of improve with a bit of age as well. It was a weak enough listed race. He won at Doncaster, beating Live in the Moment, who we saw for Adam West here a couple of weeks ago, run perfectly creditably in one of the handicaps, but it looks as though they're going in thick and fast. You sticking with Mutarafa then?
No, I mean, I'm going to go with Man of Promise and Akhtiar on the bottom.
And I'll go with Motofawit. Could be a race then that stays here in Dubai. Shadwell Godolphin very well represented for our finale. Let's join Alistair for the call of it.
Line of departure goes in. Motofawit. Motofawit is in. Here comes Khadem. Next one will be Man of Promise. Not too many left to load here. Man of Promise steps up. Ralston Scar. And Wadi. Wadi moves up. Ralston Scar. Ishtilab. Ishtilab. Ralston Scar. Listed Dubai Sprint. and they sent on their way. Motafawit was a little bit slow to go. Samagand also beaten for early pace in the early stages. King of Stars got a clean break over towards the far side. Lazuli's a bit fierce in the early stages. Eshtalab is in the white and red colours towards the inside group. Then comes Mutarafa, a few lengths off them. Kardem is in the pink and green colours. Then comes Lana Departure at the back of the inside group. On the near side, Wadi shows a good deal of pace, joined by Man of Promise. Then comes Buffer Zone. They followed by Parsifal, that's in the stripes and the black cap. Ralston Scar is next to that. Then comes Ehtiyar. They followed by Samagand, who races towards the back of the field, and Motafawit has got most of them to get past. Into the final 450 they go. Man of Promise held together towards the outside is the one in front. Wadi is second. Then towards the far side, Lazuli in the all blue. Parsifal is making inroads. They followed by Buffer Zone. It's Man of Promise who holds a 2-length lead, getting past the 200. Lazuli's on the chase. They followed by Parsifal. Kardem is next best, but it's Man of Promise with the race at the scruff of the neck over Lazuli, and Man of Promise beats Lazuli. Third Kardem. Then came Buffer Zone. They were of Eshtalar, Parsifal next best, Mutarafa. After them to King of Stars. Then came Ehtiyar, and towards the outside of them was Wadi. And that's pretty much the story here. Line of Departure, Samagand. They were further back in running with Ralston Scar.
Even the race historically, even the types of races historically, Charlie Appleby gave the rest a chance in. Now he simply doesn't, settling a 1-2 in this with Man of Promise utterly dominant, beating Lazuli and showing why, as we saw, as you suggested, as to why he was in the Alquoz, basically making most of the running down this near side and absolutely bolting up.
Yeah, I mean, the most impressive part of the race, I thought, was that they, in the middle group, the far side group, was actually slightly ahead for the majority of the race, and he was just following Wadi, kind of hoping that he would take him as far as he could. He took up the running probably sooner than he would have preferred, and then I think William just looked to his left and made sure he was staying ahead of the other group.
That was a very easy beat. Final song here on his reappearance last year. I suppose the next question he has to answer, Laura, is he a very good horse fresh, and can he now string a couple of good wins together?
That's a fair point. Yeah, I thought that was a heck of a performance. I really thought that was good. He's taken them apart. It's a good field of sprinters. He's won by a couple of lengths, maybe even more. Very, very good. And William Dewitt was, I think, agonised a bit over this decision, whether to ride him or Lazuli. Thought Lazuli might need the run. And, you know, that horse is a dual Group 3 winner, and he's beaten him very nicely indeed. Got a Stewards Cup winner in Cardam, who's finished third. A cracking run by him from Charlie Hills. I think this is a serious horse. But, yeah, totally take on board your fresh comment. Bearing in mind he's won twice
he
fresh.
Didn't go forward last year is the only reason.
He didn't go forward. His run on Super Saturday was disappointing, but his run on World Cup night I thought was really good. So does Charlie just, I bet you he'll do the same as he did last year and go to Super Saturday, but a bit of temptation, assuming he goes up enough, which he probably will, to just leave him for the Alquoz.
Yeah, no, he's...
I don't think he's at that level yet. I think he's definitely a group class sprinter, but it would still be a big old hike straight from this up to a Group 1.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he's beaten Lazuli, getting 1.5 kilos, and we had reservations about Lazuli. Cardam was needing to bounce back. Buffer Zone's running a good racing fourth. Eshtalab, Charlie Fellows, he'll probably have us back next time, won't he?
He should still appear on the winning line. He's actually both of us have run really well.
5th and 6th, yeah.
He was a little bit kind of on his own there, wasn't he, in the middle? But I think they've been beaten by a proper group horse here, haven't they?
It'd be interesting to see if Charlie possibly splits them up here, because you have two big group races going before World Cup night. You have 3 weeks. You have the Blue Point going 5. I wouldn't be surprised if Lazuli went there, and this guy Man of Promise goes to Super Saturday.
That would make sense, wouldn't it? Yeah. Lazuli possibly is a bit more effective over the 1,000 metres. Not that he's in any way been disgraced there. That was a fine effort, giving the weight away. So the Europeans have sort of held their own. 6 for Parsifal as well.
Yeah, I think they'll be reasonably pleased with that. Charlie's also got Royal Crusade, of course, who was second to Mutarafa, and the small...
He's got a
small matter of creative force as well.
Just this little horse named Creative Force in the UK.
Yeah. Who's likely to come over for the Alquoz as well, if not before. But nice problems to be had. The draw for that race, so stall 13 beat stall 4, and Cardam came from stall 6, so a nice even spread for a change. Just the best horses bolted up, basically.
Yeah, in every race on the grass, which is nice to say, there was no preferred place. The ground seemed even all the way around, and the best horses won their races.
Indeed they did. There is William Buick coming back after another successful day for Godolphin. I lose track, particularly when there's 8 races. Is that 4 they've had tonight? Real World, Lazuli, Star Safari, and something else probably.
Something else.
Oh, Siskany.
Yes.
So that's another 4 to go with the 5 they had last week.
I'm just still dining out on an international winner.
Yeah.
that works for me.
That was a long
still
time ago.
chuffed with Batwan's performance in the first.
A long time ago.
It is tough. But Godolphin are coming here with their best horses. Not that many of the other trainers are doing that.
No, 2.5 lengths was the official winning margin. It felt a bit bigger than that.
Looked further than that, didn't it?
Yeah.
I bet they'll be delighted with Cardham, especially bearing in mind he kind of bombed out, didn't he, in the Alquoz?
Very much so. He came over as favourite, and
yeah, he was a bad favourite, I thought. But so at least he's proved he does handle things, and new connections as well in the haze. So they'll be very happy with that. He's a classy sort.
If this lad does wind up going to Super Saturday, the Nettle Sheba Turf Sprint is shaping up as a solid race. We have possibly Emeraldiana in there, and another possible being a Case of You for Adam McGuinness.
Certainly a very good sprint. I suppose the Saudi meeting is one race where the sprints aren't really catered for. No,
they did actually say Lajuli might go to Saudi. That was something that Charlie said prior to this race.
Just shy of 7 furlongs, isn't it? The trip for that, which he may well do.
6 3/4.
Yeah. Of course, the race Space Blues won last year. Well, let's take the race from the start. The first thing to note is Mutafawit is slowly away again. That's his last chance for me.
Yeah.
He's got all the ability in the world, but if he's going to continue to go off favourite and do things like that at the start, then he's just not going to win high-end sprints here, is he?
Yeah, not at all. He's going to finish and pick up a check and never want to win them.
King of Stars was the one taking him along far side. I suspect that he'll be better back at 5 furlongs. Near side, Man of Promise, always prominent. Buffer Zone, I thought he ran to expectations for Fauzi Nas, justifying him coming over from Bahrain for this.
Yeah, he's always been a quick horse. I'm guessing William right now is he's already passed Wadi, and I think he's ahead of his group far before he had planned to be.
They're about level once it unstaggers.
He's about a half length behind right now, and then he just consumes them right here.
Yeah. Mutafawit never threatens to get a blow. Mutarafa far side. He's just trying to battle past.
It's between the 300 and the 100 that he really just puts this race to bed.
He does, doesn't he? He's felt a bit more control today. Maybe last year he was one-dimensional and just blasting out and making all the running, but I think they've just taken a bit of a sit on him tonight, and that's enabled the finish to be very evident and very dominant. 2.5 lengths, as we say, was the official winning margin. I'm just trying to see if one or two others. Cardham's always far side. King of Stars, as we said, made the run in. Mutarafa probably just found himself a little bit isolated. Ejtilab, maybe if they can control those pre-race nerves, is what it felt like. He just seemed to get a bit too on edge, maybe.
Yeah, he's also maybe a little too overclassed here. I'm not sure, outclassed. I'm not sure that he's. A couple of these are proper Group 3, Group 2 sprinters, I think.
Some of them are coming in as handicappers, basically.
Yeah,
and Ejtilab is,
And he's just, Mutarafa was the one that I was just the most confused about. He just never really produced.
He's just found himself on a bit of a flank. I know Cardham, I suppose, is on this near side. Parsifal just sort of bats on at the one pace. I guess he could bounce out and run another solid race next time, but might just struggle to pick up a race, whereas Bolter looks more likely to win for the Australians. But yeah, Man of Promise, utterly dominant in winning our finale. Another one on the day for William Buick, who I think is talking to Laura.
Sure, William Buick's absolutely delighted. That was a very good performance, no question. You were definitely on the right one.
Yeah, no, exactly. But look, it's delighted with his performance. Very similar to when he won here last year, first time up. So, the team were very happy with him. And look, we'll see what his future engagements are. But I'm hoping, and I think we're all hoping, that he'll take a step up in class.
That looks a group performance, surely.
Yeah, I'm sure on the clock he won't be far off either. So obviously Lazuli back in second, carried a bit more weight, admittedly. No, look, it was a good performance. So let's just hope that he can take the next step.
It's been a good night. Well done.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Laura.
Yeah, another good day at the office then for William Buick. Winning.
He's almost in screen. Oh, there he is.
Yeah. Don't forget we've got a very small screen here, so people watching at home, he's probably in the middle of their screen, isn't he? But not so much on what we're watching. Could take him about 5 minutes to get to the winning post going that speed.
Yeah.
By which time the lights will be out at MEYDAN and we'll be hopefully on our way home. Which
it's the night the lights went out at MEYDAN.
Isn't too far away, but man of promise all of a sudden turns into a horse of promise in the sprinting front, and those comments I made about potentially going on the dirt seem rather erroneous now in hindsight.
Yeah, against weaker opposition last year, he was equally as impressive. So I'm going to put a grain of salt on it for now.
Yeah.
But he, I did tip him, so I'm gonna take my victory if I can.
You're becoming the Musaba El Mahari of the last race. Your winner last week was not your only winner, but you tipped the winner of the last race last week, and you've repeated the feat this time around. We can perhaps show you